Still says 4 waiting.
Hello, hello. This is like the worst start for any video ever, but we're still having technical issues because there's a certain young man who apparently has it out for me. So let's see how this works out. Can anybody get in the chat?
I don't think it's... Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. It's refreshed. My chat's still down. I'm just going to close my YouTube thing off and see if I can get it working.
I've tried that. Oh my God, it's awful.
No, still. Oh, it's back. It's back. I have the chat. Here we are. I think it might have been YouTube having a moment. Yeah, okay. I can see it now.
Everybody try again.
YouTube.
Hello. Technical boy invaded our space. Can somebody send me a message? Okay, Brown Holler, thank you. Yes, we are back. We're back and we're ready to talk at the College of Divinities here. I am John St. Baptiste, the most unprofessional host of all time. And I'm joined by the lovely Amy Tru.
Hello.
Actually, I think for this Believe series, we need names. Now, you called me Gin St. Baptiste.
Oh, that was just a joke, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember why.
Because of my glasses.
Just the sunglasses, yes.
Yes. So I will call you Amy Truer than True.
Oh. Cool.
Yes. So Gin St. Baptiste, Amy Truer than True. This is Believe. We're talking American Gods. Season 2, Episode 2. Sorry for the very unprofessional start, but actually hosting my own stuff is new to me, and now I appreciate how much hard work Johnny puts into everything. And don't understand why he hasn't killed somebody yet.
There's still time.
There's still time.
We're only halfway through season 2 of Battlestar, so there's definitely still time. Oh, Mackenzie's blaming it on the Cylons. Cylon number 7's taken over.
Oh, well, Mackenzie, if you watch American Gods, you'll understand why I just dress the way I like to on these, because this is behind the scenes, John. Which doesn't even really happen that often.
All of the gods.
Like, I am one of those people, I do put on a shirt and tie to go to the store.
Here's like, me still wearing what I wore to work.
To pick up like cat litter and eggs. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta put a tie on. Okay, so should we dive right into this episode, The Beguiling Man?
Yes. But who was the beguiling man? This is the thing, like, most of the male characters could have been described as this during this show, during this episode. Like, on the surface, you would assume that it refers to Wednesday. But Mr. World kind of has his beguiling moment of trying to sweet talk Bilquis. You've got Mad Sweeney trying to persuade Laura that they should go to New Orleans to see a certain devil in the French Quarter. Nancy, Mr. Nancy, like he always kind of fits that sort of description as well. And he sort of has the reputation of like the trickster. Anyway, in his mythology. So kind of referring to all of them, I think, this time. Also, something I forgot to say beforehand, we hear quite a few of Wednesday's other names this episode.
Aye.
And there's a new one that's sort of not one from the mythology, because it gets called Cargo.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
A bit of a weird one.
Okay. That's a couple of scenes away. But yes. Oh, the first thing we need to do for anybody who is here, we do have a warning. This is a TVMA show, and over there it's called Mature Audiences, right?
Yeah, or After the Watershed.
After the Watershed. Okay. So this is a TVMA live stream. So if you're the type of person who covers your ears, you might just want to cover your ears. Amy and I both have very foul mouths, not quite as foul as Mad Sweeney's. Well, Amy's isn't anyway. But just
Can be.
Be warned.
Yeah, so you haven't seen me when I'm angry. Paint the hair blue.
We're actually starting the next week. We're going to start the fuck count, and we will have the count of how many times the word fuck is said every episode. Because I like counting things. Ha 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 ha.
Oh dear.
Yes, I just did that.
I only suggested it to be childish. Yes. I'm going to keep a fuck tally in my notes next week.
Because I am childish. I'm terribly childish. Okay, so the episode starts off, and it starts off where the last episode ended, and we have Shadow, and the light comes above him. Now we know this has diverged from the books significantly, but because Neil Gaiman, the writer, actually has some input on this. But we're talking about the new gods and the old gods and the new things people believe in and the old things people believe in. Was there a second when that light came on him and he was lifted up, you were like, could it be ancient aliens?
It did give the impression, I think, from sort of the scene where he was taken, and then the fact that he's inside this metal thing, and there's electrodes, and there's that weird shit on his arms, and you're kind of for a minute thinking, fuck, are they going to probe him or something? It does very much give the impression that it's like some sort of alien abduction. Obviously for a while we find out later where he actually is.
But and we find out it's a train.
Yeah, which was really weird, because you would expect there to be more sound. You'd expect to be able to hear the noise of it, and perhaps motion. Trains aren't the most steady thing. You've got a lot of turbulence, I suppose, from them, and there's going to be bumps and stuff. So you'd expect there to be some sort of movement around, like objects rattling or anything, and there's nothing, which again adds to this kind of perception that maybe he's in some sort of spaceship or a satellite or God knows what else.
Right. Well, the book and the show are very good about touching on belief defining reality. And there's an urban legend type of thing here in the States that there are like these human breeding plants out in the middle of nowhere in the desert in the West. And all these boxcars you see on trains all the time are taking people to them.
It's very X-Files.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all about belief, and there are people who believe these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brian Hallett says in the chat she thought it was deliberately designed to look like alien abduction.
Yes.
I also realised I've just said she, Ron Hallett. I'm not actually sure if you are a she, so apologies if I've used the wrong term. But I'm using my tablet for the chat and I can't see the pictures properly.
Yeah, is it Haller or Holler? Like yellow, like Haller, I just want to pronounce it correctly from now on. But like a howler, like a wolf or a dog, or is it like holler, like yelling at somebody, or like a really great place to fish? I think that's lost in translation with you, right?
Yes, I know nothing about fishing, so.
Well, a holler is a like little still semi-still creek that one finds really good place to fish.
It's short for Bronwyn, which is Welsh, so. Not holler.
Okay. Short A, not holler.
I think I was right there.
Oh, Bronwyn. Good name. I actually have a cousin named Bronwyn.
Bronwyn, not Branwyn. With an O. We digress.
My cousin's name is Bronwyn, but you know there's that little body of water in between.
Right. The other thing with the opening scene with Shadow, the actual contraption that he's in, it looks like a light bulb. You can it is that sort of light bulb shape, and then it looks like in the middle here's the filament, so like the source of light in the light bulb, and where the light would come from would be the filament that's in the middle. I was trying to figure out what the things over his arms were for quite some time, and I just no idea. Sort of tubes. I was trying to figure out, are they kind of, were they just holding his arms, or was something like burrowed into his skin or anything like that? Was something weird, but it was kind of. We might see that next episode though, if we see them actually taking him out of the machine, because we didn't see that.
Right.
Or is he going to get jolted out of it when the trains hit the car? So
the machine is so disturbing.
it is very disturbing. It's like, I wonder if it's something that they have specifically created for him. And I couldn't make my mind up if they were extracting those memories from him because they were trying to find information, or if what appeared to be like electric shocks were just triggering some sort of flashback in his mind. So I'd like to see maybe something a bit more solid that explains that, just so we know, were we seeing memories being sucked out because they're after some sort of information from him, which might be why you didn't see who the man was that gave him the coin in the scene later on.
Oh, I think we both know who the man who gave him the coin was.
I thought I did. However, I watch on Amazon Prime, and it's got a thing where if you like hover over the screen, you'll get little boxes pop up along the side with like the actors, and there's trivia and all sorts, and I don't usually use it. But because I pause a lot because I'm taking notes, when I went over the screen, Mr. Wood and an actor playing Mr. Wood was credited in that scene, which I thought was a bit strange because we didn't see any hint towards Mr. Wood in any of the episode. Or was there a little flash of it at the beginning in the recap, actually? Because all we really know about Mr. Wood is that he was an old god who's kind of sided with the new gods. As far as the show goes, and we've only seen him as a tree in season 1. So I find it really odd that they'd got him credited as an actual actor. And the voice doesn't entirely sound like that it was Wednesday.
Yeah, now you're gonna have me up all night again. Thanks.
There's worse things you could be doing with your evening. But yeah, it was that really got me thinking, because it's you're straight away like, oh well, obviously that's Wednesday, and then Amazon Prime throws something like that at you, and you think, are they just being stupid? Or is there something else there? So yeah, there's or as I've found those screenshots I managed to get, there's stuff going on between the surface, I think, that you don't quite notice
Yeah.
all the time.
We definitely need to get into the horde.
I have to save that one until we get to the scene, I think,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
those screen grabs were
fucking big.
mind blowing.
I mean, it's really fucking big. Okay, so let's go to the next scene where Zernabog is pretty ticked off.
Oh, he's cross. He's sad as well, though. A lot of what he's talking about is mourning, like how mourning rituals, I suppose, when he's talking about things like covering mirrors. That's, I think it's cultural and like a historical thing, so it's not something I'm aware of that people still do nowadays. When someone dies, is that they cover the mirrors in the house for like a certain amount of time. I think that was something that was like a British thing, maybe. I think probably back in Victorian times, but it's not a common thing now. So I don't know if it's still a cultural thing with some people now, or if it is just like this historical thing.
That's a reference I would not have gotten.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I love when we have these conversations, because we both have very different cultural backgrounds, and and Gaiman is just so freaking brilliant. He pulls all these things in, and yeah, something like that with the mirrors. That's awesome. Like, that is so awesome. I had no idea about that.
Well, I would be a terrible, terrible goth if I didn't have some vague knowledge of Victorian mourning rituals.
Yes, they would take away your goth card.
See, look, I'm wearing a grey t-shirt, so I'm not wearing a black top today. I have to have to make sure I don't lose any goth points, you see.
Speaking of which, it's getting very hot in here soon. My jacket is coming off. It's cold outside today.
Actually, it's like the first day of spring here today, and it's been beautiful. It's actually really warm. It's been really sunny, and I've been stuck in an office all day with no windows.
It was warm. It was warm, but it was so windy, and so I had a jacket on. I was working out in my yard.
Sat at my desk, so not doing anything exciting. Brian has said in the chat, the mirrors are covered so that the soul of the departed doesn't get lost in them and stay.
Right.
Old
Irish tradition, funerary tradition, is tying your toes together.
Tying your toes together?
Yes, so you don't get up and walk off.
What? So you mean they tie the corpse's toes together?
Yeah.
That is really odd. I did not know that.
Yeah, or ankles later on. It would be ankles, because you bury people in their shoes.
How strange. I've never heard that before. I'm gonna have to try and read about that at some point. Also because I'm completely fucking morbid, but it's interesting. I actually do follow a couple of mortician things on YouTube as well, so stuff like that is quite interesting.
I've actually met a few morticians, because the hotel that I work at has a mortician's conference every year.
Okay.
They're the most abnormally normal people you will ever meet.
It was something that I actually wanted to do for a while. I wanted to train, well, not as a mortician as such, I wanted to train as a pathology technician. So rather than a funeral service type thing, it would be more like working in like a coroner's office. But yeah, that's probably not something I'll ever do as a career choice now. But I did for a very long time sort of want to do it. But vacancies are very, very few and far between. So
Hey, if you don't want the smell, I mean, I bet it pays well. It's a government job.
the smell wouldn't bother me. I do taxidermy as a hobby. Not quite the same as humans though, and you know, for the purposes of like solving crimes and stuff, it'd be pretty cool. And then I could help
Yeah,
Laura. Right, speaking of morticians, actually, we should be seeing now which one's not going to be in this series. Mr. Ibis and Mr. Jackal. One of them's not coming back for this season, and I can't remember which one.
I believe it was Mr. Jackal.
So Mr. Ibis is still going to be in this season. So yeah, it's I wonder if they're going to kind of leave the funeral home and come and help, or if they're just kind of going to stay there. And
what I'm hoping is all these casting leaks are just a few.
Yeah, there's not very many. There was a handful of other gods, I think, that they'd mentioned, and then there was the Bast, and I think that's it.
Yeah, and Sam. Actually, we see that in the little teaser that's at the end of the episode.
I never get to see those. They never play them on Prime, so I haven't got a clue. I haven't seen the trailer for the next episode at all.
Allegedly, Sam's going to be in the next episode.
That'll be cool.
Yeah,
so I'll have to try and find the trailer on YouTube.
But speaking of death, the next scene during this scene, so Zernabog has his wake for his sister. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Yaya. That's kind of vaguely how they pronounce. It's probably not how it's actually meant to be pronounced.
And it said that she will be reborn. And then he says, "Don't you get it? This is a bad country for gods. She won't be reborn. Nobody believes."
Yeah, that's the impression that you get, is that even if they're I assume it's their physical form is destroyed, as long as people still believe in them, they'll resurrect in some way. And I think it's Mama G who's saying, "Oh, well, don't worry, we'll do this." And he's like, "No, you don't understand that she's got no more believers." But he does still say that a new star will rise. I'm not 100%, like, I don't know everything about this, the kind of mythology that goes around this, but from what I'm aware, in the mythology, I think there's only the two Thorias, and they protect a gate that prevents some hellhound from being released that will unleash the apocalypse if it ever gets out. So with him saying that a new star will rise, he's kind of saying, well, there will be a new goddess as such in her place, but it won't be her, it will be a new one. And he's saying he hopes she's up to the job so that she'll still be able to protect the world, essentially. I mean, that's what they believe that job is, which is a pretty significant one if you're there to prevent the apocalypse.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then Mama G, oh my gosh.
Oh, she was hilarious in this scene.
Odin. Yeah, well, you got your war. I mean, she calls him out. She calls him out right there.
Mm-hmm.
She's
like, well, this is what you wanted and this is how it's happening.
And now I'm stuck with it, and I'll get out my knives and I'll grow my extra hands and I'll, take. I
wrote it down. No choice but to resume the lopping of heads, drinking of blood, and liberating of souls.
As long as I
so nonchalant the way she says it. She's just like, oh well, I suppose.
As long as I can get someone to cover my weekend shift.
As long as I can swap my weekend shift with Arjun. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love the funny little moments that they throw into this. They just, the comic relief in it is brilliant, even when it's just those little things.
yeah, it's not poorly done. And comic relief in a serious show is so hard to pull off.
Yeah, without coming across as like cheesy or
heavy-handed,
like inappropriate. Yeah, but that was brilliant. It was kind of like, you know, she's because she was one of the ones that was reluctant as well to be going to war. She's kind of like, do you know what? I've seen all this before. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And it seems, even though she looks to be doing a job that you'd think was maybe degrading for someone, for a powerful goddess, and we see her kind of changing sheets in a hotel room, you get the impression actually she must take that quite seriously.
You know what? This is a quiet space. Like, I've been lopping off heads and doing all this shit for. We're talking about the oldest still practiced religion in the world.
Yeah.
She's been doing this shit for like 6,000 years. Maybe after that, I'd be wanting to, change bed sheets and
do something mundane. It's so odd that she would still be like, but it's okay. We've got to do this war, but it's still important that my shift is covered. I can't just leave my job. It's like not what you would think that a god or goddess would be worried about something that mundane, especially for, like you said, it's still Hinduism is still such a huge religion. She's not got to worry about losing believers and followers like a lot of the others have. It's not a concern for her, which I think is why she was kind of reluctant to kind of throw a lot in with the others in the scene in the last episode, because to her it's not important, because she's not losing followers and losing her power, I suppose, as such, because if they don't have people believing in them, they're not powerful.
right.
Whereas obviously she still has like so many believers. She's still powerful in her own right. She doesn't need the others really, and then she doesn't feel that the new gods are a threat to her.
Yeah, and it kind of gives a testament to Wednesday's persona skills, because I don't think that Mr. World could have pulled this off. I think she would have been like, yeah, this, I don't need you, and then stuck out the Gene Simmons tongue and walked away. She's got a Gene Simmons tongue hiding there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're talking about freaking Kali.
As Brian Hallis commented, saying she's more than death and destruction. She also cares for babies and small children, and is essentially the universe and time incarnate.
Yes, this is very true.
She's like one of, if not the most powerful, really, of the old gods. I mean, she calls herself a war god, doesn't she? In the Hall of the Gods scene, she's saying like, as one god of war to another.
Well, because this is a war getting started, so she's using that embodiment of herself. She's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not sure if we'll see kind of the other sides of her as such in this. It's because it's focused around this war. It is that sort of persona.
Yeah.
But it could be similar to how we saw all the different Jesuses. There are probably other incarnations of her around in other places, that are perhaps the different sides of her, not just this particular. What's the I'm just trying to think of the funny term.
Avatar, maybe?
No, it's a really funny term that Terry Pratchett uses. It's an anthropomorphic personification.
Anthropomorphic personification.
That's how death in the Discworld novels is referred to as, and the Hogfather.
And in Sandman, actually the best telling off of all time.
Yeah, so it's that
in Sandman issue 8, when Death says, "You are the worst excuse for an anthropomorphic personification that I have ever seen in my life."
Yeah, so that's actually what they are. It's what the people in that area and around them sort of make them out to be. I hadn't actually thought of the similarities with that previously, with how you've got the those they're not gods in the Discworld books really, but it's a similar concept, is that they're created by people's belief, which is similar to what Laura's saying to Mad Sweeney in the car at one point. She's saying, "You're not gods. People made you. You know, you're just made up out of people's beliefs. You're not really a god. You're just this thing." I think she calls it like a monster under the bed, and you know, you're not sort of responsible for people's lives. It's them, and that's when sort of he's saying, yeah, you fucked your own life up. It wasn't God.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're like 5 minutes into the show and half an hour into this episode.
Oh, it's also it's really interesting though, especially because
yeah,
because this is like probably a matter of hours, because obviously it was the night time when the sniper scene in the last episode, and now it's like the morning after, because they're eating pancakes inside the restaurant as well, so it's like breakfast time. It's only a matter of hours, and so much had happened, and now everybody that came together, they're now all separating off. So we're going to be sort of following different people and different story threads. It would seem like they've hinted that Laura and Mad Sweeney probably are going to go to New Orleans at some point, and then God knows what Wednesday's up to. I'm assuming we're going to see him riding a horse next episode.
Well, Gungnir is his spirit. Whitnir is his horse.
Yes.
Yeah,
we've
got calls him out. I think Anansi knows exactly what is going on.
Do you think that's why he's gone with Wednesday?
Because he's like, why am I getting your fucking car for a fucking spear? Like, we're going to get a fucking spear, that means the war started. He's pretty. I can't remember exactly what Orlando Jones says here, and I can't say it anywhere near as humorously or charmingly as he does.
They've sent the Jinn to get the spear, haven't they? Gungnir.
Yeah, Gungnir.
Ansling. I love in this bit how Mad Sweeney is referring to everyone, because he calls them Fire Eyes and the Fairy.
Yes.
And then refers to Anansi as Spider-Man. He has the best nicknames for everybody. Obviously with Laura, Dead Wife. Just what he calls people was just so.
I am pretty sure, I'm not positive about this, but I am pretty sure this is the first episode where he does not call her Dead Wife.
He doesn't actually. He doesn't mention that at all. I don't think he calls her Laura either. I don't think he
uses a like referential term.
Yeah, but yes, you're quite right. There is no dead wife. But he does. Yeah, he calls that to her face a lot of the time. It's not like he just says it in reference to her. He does actually speak to her and say, what do you think, dead wife, kind of thing. It's not like he's shy about calling people what he thinks of them.
I know this guy like that. Can't remember his name.
But I love the banter then between him and Nancy when he tells as he says, he says, I've never met such a huge leprechaun with such bad luck. So he gets told to bugger off, and he goes, "Bugger yourself off, bitch." Awesome.
What a cunt. It's just great. It's funny because the actor who plays Mad Sweeney, his name's not coming to my mind. He's not Irish.
No, he's oh god.
He doesn't even come from that kind of, like, I'm an American, but I come from that kind of background, and I have that in my family and so forth. But
I can't remember his name. He's Lieb Schreiber's brother. Obviously his brother's a lot more famous than he is and doesn't look anything like him.
but yeah, he really studied the character to play it well. And
oh yeah, he does play it very, very well. And it's almost like he and Laura are then kind of thrown together, because Wednesday's like, no, you've got to go with her, because he's complaining that like Anansi's taking his seat. And he's like, no, she wants to save Shadow, so you get to go with her, because that's where I'm telling you you've got to go. Which they're kind of being forced together almost, I think.
right.
And I'm kind of shipping them to this, like,
I know you are.
again,
And
completely
actually, this
divergent.
episode kind of puts a hole in that. At least for me personally, it did.
It did, but then obviously there's that screen grab that I picked up later on.
Yes.
So, all will be revealed. Secret split-second scenes. So yeah, I think there's going to be some sort of romance between them. And then you've got the very sweet sort of romance between Salim and the Jinn, because he doesn't want to take him with him.
Oh my gosh, it's the sweetest thing.
And he says, I believe in what I'm doing. And he says, I believe in you. And that belief is what you need. And he just can't argue with that at all, can he?
And just passes him the motorcycle helmet. But then he goes in the freaking sidecar.
It's cute little face. It's the same thing as when he'd taken his sunglasses off in the previous episode, and he just looks so happy. And he's just happy to be there.
No, but you know
And
what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't even hop on the back of the bike. Like, he goes in the freaking sidecar.
well, he's happy to be there. It's probably a bit more comfortable as well. I've never been in one, so.
I've ridden a lot of bikes, but I've never ridden one with a sidecar. I think that would be kind of awkward.
Hmm.
And Salim still prays.
He does, and the Jinn sits and watches him. Oh, and Mama G calls the Jinn Ifrit. I'm not sure if there's anything surrounding the name. It's not something I know, but so the Jinn are part of her culture as well. They're believed in her culture, so he's another one where there are people out there already that believe in him. And
Well, in Middle Eastern folklore, there are different types of jinn. Like, jinn
yeah,
is a broad term. Ifrits are specifically jinn of fire.
okay. So is that specifically what he is, just to her, or in general?
I would think in general would be my guess, because kind of glasses come off.
And there's fire.
Whereas they're jinn of air, they're jinn of water, they're jinn of
Yeah,
earth.
like elemental
Right.
spirit type things. It's
Right.
just the fact that Salim says to him, he says, Allah wouldn't want you to go. Like, why would something from a different culture care what another god thought? But yeah, I don't think there's much in that. I think that it's not really focusing on that belief. It is more about how much Salim believes in the Jinn rather than he's God. So he's kind of still going through the motions of praying, but I think he's kind of, what's in front of him is more real to him at the moment than that.
Well, I still, yeah, that's the thing. We had this conversation before. I mean, I'm pretty devout in my beliefs. You wouldn't guess it from my mouth, but I mean, I am a practicing Catholic. I actually go to mass. Yeah, that's the one really bad sin that I leave myself is my potty mouth. But and even that's not too bad. I mean, I never drop a GD or anything like that. But on the same note, I'm a Catholicized pagan. Like, I really am. It's so you have these cultural things where things like tie over.
Yeah, and they overlap.
Yeah, and I can totally see Celine believing in the Jinn in all ways that phrase can be said. Like, I believe in you. Like that can
Yeah.
mean a lot of different things.
Yeah,
But
it's open to interpretation.
still, he prays 5 times a day. He couldn't find a carpet, so he lays down what is it, like the top of a box.
I didn't spot that.
Yeah. It was like it was the top of a box.
I totally hadn't clicked that at all. But yeah, he didn't really take anything with him, did he? So I mean, normally he would have his own prayer rug that he would kind of take everywhere with him.
Right.
But
But
he up and
and
followed his heart, didn't he? So
it's like that time of day, I pray towards Mecca. I can for me it's not a dichotomy. It's almost an assumption. That to me a person's an aspect of all the different things that come into and I think the show kind of drives that home too because in the books, it's what you believe. Oh, yeah,
yeah, it's one of those that like they are going to believe in more than one thing when they're right in front of their faces, though, aren't they?
yeah.
Like he's literally stood in the presence of Kali and he's not sat there and gone, well, fuck. Turns out Hinduism's right and my religion's wrong because my God's not here. He's not going to, it's kind of not going to be like that. Yeah.
So, what do you think of picking and plucking?
What, extracting the memories or?
No. When Laura's like, we need to go find Shadow. And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. I guess I got to go with you.
Oh, because you've got.
And he's like, well, how are we going to get there? Steal a car for us.
Of course, Matt Sweeney knows how to steal a car.
My specific thing though, you do the picking, I'll do the plucking, and then the car that she picks out is a freaking Mercedes. I personally, tinfoil theory here, think there's a reason for that.
Is there? Why would she pick a Mercedes then?
Because it's a car from the same culture that Votan is from.
Okay. But would she have...
in its own way as an instrument of death? I mean, Mercedes makes tanks too, or at least they used to back in the 1940s.
Fair enough. That's something else I mentioned earlier about the names. We get a couple of his different names in this bit at the beginning. It's Chernobog that calls him Votan.
Yeah.
And Mama G calls him Grimnir.
Right.
And so does Matt Sweeney, actually.
Yeah, Grimnir, which would be the more further south, Central or not Central European, but like the more southern parts of Germany, and what would now be called Belgium. Like that would be Grimnir. And then there's a very interesting name that the Allstate insurance guy uses. Which, by the way, amazing freaking casting for Mr. Town.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have those commercials over there?
No.
Okay. So, America, we have Allstate insurance, and they have these commercials, and the actor is always this guy who he's like, I'm the tree that falls on your car. I'm the like. It's so hard to explain. Just like look up Allstate insurance commercials. They're pretty funny. But the fact that they cast that actor for this part, at least to an American, is a very funny thing.
Okay. Now he called him Allfather and Grim, which again is sort of they're like known names from sort of Odin mythology. He does have a lot of different names, but I've never heard him called Cargo.
Yeah. And that is actually used in the book.
It was used in the last episode.
I don't think it was used in the last episode, as far as I know. But
I'm sure Mr. World.
Because when you brought that up, I remember that being in the book, and it's never explained. And I think it's like it might just be one of those little tidbits that Gaiman drops, or it might just be, they use the references. These Secret Service people use references, just like if you're a hacker or if you're can't. If you use can't, like there are certain words you say that mean something entirely different.
Yeah, I'm sure it was in just before the sniper scene when Mr. World he's typing on the computer and he says he's talking to Mr. Town on the computer. I'm sure he says something like fetch the cargo or bring the cargo, but that appeared to be in reference to Shadow.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to watch this again. I mean, all the suffering of having to watch the episode again, because it's such a good episode. We barely even delved into it, but hey, this is my channel, and we can go as long as you like.
I don't have to get for work in the morning. See, I'm more, but it's not late. It's fine.
But so, no, I liked that. I love the way that Mad Sweeney speaks, because it reminds me very much of some family members of mine. Oh, you do the picking and I'll do the plucking. Like talking about stealing a car. Getting back to Kant and getting back to Mad Sweeney. Do you think we're going to see Mad Sweeney put a needle in his arm? Or do you think that that's all been removed because he's so much more of a major character in the show than the book?
I think I've mentioned that they're going to do sort of a like an origin type episode for him, but I don't think they're going to put everything in about him from the book. I think they're obviously changing his character quite a lot with this whole relationship with Laura, and that seems to be the main focus. And then I think we're going to see sort of the origin thing. I do wonder if
see what Amy just did there? This is why I need a PA. Now she has a spouse, which I don't do that, but I do need a PA. I just need somebody to bring me a glass of wine.
I'm so lazy. I text Ben and say, "Could you bring me a drink?" Only because I was in a rush and didn't bring one with me when I sat down.
That's love for those of you out there, by the way. That's real love.
What? Because he brings me drinks.
Yeah, and doesn't get paid for it.
I'll pay him in cuddles. It's all good. And he's still got a thank you. I forgot. Oh yeah, so we're talking about Mad Sweeney. One thing that I did remember that I'd completely forgotten before: the actress that plays Laura, actually played the was it Bessie, I want to say. Yeah, she. So I think this might be something to do with where they're going with this story between them. Because they could have used anyone to play her. It didn't have to be the same actress that plays Laura. And I don't know if it's going to be along the lines of she is some ancestor, like Bessie's one of her ancestors, and that's why she looks like her. So she's like, some like great niece or whatever of Bessie, and that's why they look so alike.
Well, Essie,
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We'll talk about Bessie at the end of this, because I think Bessie's very important.
Mm.
But Essie, no, if you remember at the end of her story, she had children.
She did.
She had children here in America with the farmer who she beguiled. And, but like kind of got beguiled by the whole, like, hey, I don't want to be a street thief anymore. I want to be a mom. I want to be.
Yeah, she kind of settled down, didn't she? Like very much after. It's so. Laura could be one of her descendants. She could be a reincarnation, or at whatever point this story was relayed, he maybe just thought of her like Laura because it's already happened when his Coming to America story is written down. So in his retelling, he imagined her as Laura because, like, later on, because of how he feels about her. It's very. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to go with this.
Yeah, so am
It's
I.
really grabbed me because there's nothing to use from the books to guess at this really. So it's intriguing me.
Well, it's like we were talking about last week. Like I think it started in the same place, and I think it's going to end in the same place.
Mm,
But I think all the stuff in the middle is going to be very, very different. I think there are
definitely.
little things that are going to be done exactly the same. Like the whole thing about Shadow's torture being on a train. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's straight out of the book. It's done differently. It's done in a different manner. But it's straight out of the book, and it makes it very clear about the whole train thing we were talking about earlier, about like urban legends here in America.
Mm.
About what goes on in these boxcars that you see go by you, but you never.
You never know what's going on inside,
Right.
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, exactly.
um, speaking of the train, we kind of see the first actual, like, what they're doing to him and possibly why is the thing with Shadow's memories. And we kind of, the way that they play those memories out is like it's Shadow's own Coming to America story. And they're obviously trying to get information about Wednesday because that's the kind of where they're going with it. Like he's trying to say, look, he doesn't tell me anything, and they're like, no, yeah, well, you sort of, he's saying I'm just a bodyguard, and he says something about, we think you've forgotten how to tell the truth. They know a lot about him. They know they've obviously researched him. He says that Mr. Town says to him, we've researched your background, and there's no other family apart from your mum and your late wife.
Your wife who's dead.
Mm-hmm. And they know sort of the details of Laura's death. So yeah, how long have they been watching him for?
Yeah. Well, how long are they watching all of us? I mean,
Yeah.
that once again, it gets back into the whole belief thing. Like, I consider myself a bit less of a conspiracy theorist than a lot of people I know, but not much less. And I do think, yeah, the government they're watching this fucking live cast right now. I'm. By the way, you can tie me up in the train. I'm not going to let all the Illuminati shit that I know out. Go ahead.
Try and suck the memories out of your head. What do you think that machine was doing? Was it just hurting him and he was having flashbacks, or do you think they were trying to extract the memories?
I didn't get the sense that they were trying to extract the memories. I thought of it more as like shock therapy.
Yeah.
Or something where you
So it's triggering certain parts of his brain, and then he's remembering these. I
Right.
suppose
And they're
traumatic
wanting,
memories.
yeah, and they're wanting him to remember all this stuff about Wednesday, and know what he's actually doing is, like, at least for me, my feeling was he's remembering his youth, which he has literally, like, blocked out and blocked off.
Yeah, and you can see why, because it's sad, really, isn't it? You know, when they first arrive and they're looking at the Statue of Liberty, and this is sort of where this whole theme of everything's themed around light in this episode. Like the first scene we have of Shadow is him as the center of a light bulb. Laura sees the light in the distance to know where he
Yeah,
is.
for all you book readers, the light thing was kind of heavy-handed for me. That's one of my very two small criticisms about this episode, but I think it was well done.
It was well done.
For people who already know, it's a
Yeah.
little bit heavy-handed.
It doesn't really feel like they're beating you over the head with it as such, though. I like how they're. It's subtle enough that people wouldn't necessarily click if they didn't already know the story, but it's not too difficult for them to kind of realise the overarching theme. So it's the first time that we hear Shadow's mum. She says your light is strong, and she points at she makes mention of the Statue of Liberty as the lady with a torch, and again like torch and light. And although it seems like a positive thing that they're arriving, it's somewhere new to Shadow, and he doesn't seem happy about it because his mum's trying to reassure him, saying, look, it's only for one summer, then we'll carry on our world tour. And you can even see from this point, it's like perhaps he struggles with his identity, because she reminds him that he's not French, because that's obviously where they've
You're
come
not French,
from.
you're American, you're not black, you're not white.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of Shadow's entire character is a lack of identity.
Mm-hmm.
I have things that I can identify with as a person.
Yeah.
Most of us do. But for him, like, everything is kind of, it kind of gets driven home in this episode that, like, Shadow has no real personal identity.
No, he doesn't. He's just got he doesn't fit anywhere.
Yeah, and Town even says, he's like,
He says he's like just another bastard, and yeah, he's just you can see how much he doesn't fit anywhere. So obviously they've come from France, but he's not French. Although he does say to the bullies when he first encounters them, when they ask him where he's from, he says he's from France. Well, he's not really. But he can't say, well, I'm from here, because he doesn't identify as that. And then they decide that he's too white, and which obviously confuses the hell out of him. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm black. But not as far as they're concerned.
right.
They have a very kind of very clear definition to their minds as what counts. He's not black enough for their liking. And then obviously how awful, he's just moved to this new place, he doesn't know anyone, he goes somewhere, and he's trying to be friendly, and then gets the shit kicked out of him, and then he gets arrested.
Yeah.
Running away. I mean, it's like the poor kid, he's just had 7 shades of shit kicked out of him by a bunch of strangers, and then ends up getting arrested. Like, he's lumped in with them. They didn't think he was black enough, but the police certainly did.
Right.
Kind of thing. They were, oh, right, black guy running away from some sort of trouble. Well, it must have been, he must have done something wrong, and he hadn't. He'd done nothing at all. And the actor did brilliantly. That was playing young Shadow, because it was sort of in slow motion, that part, and you see his face, and he just looks so confused and upset, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? And his mum did warn him. She said, it's not, there's like, there's kind of different rules here, and that, and he's just like, it's fine.
Lines. His mom has the best lines in the entire episode. Like, all the best lines in this entire episode is Mom. Like, she got a great script.
She did, and she was really good. I really like the actress that played her as well. She was really good, and how they showed sort of the transition between, like, as she's dying essentially over that time. It's done really well, really, really well. And I suppose if we go sort of to the next, maybe kind of skip out a few bits and go to the next bit where we see him with his mum. Was in the hospital. And I mean, they don't even they don't like beat you over the head with, look, this woman's got cancer kind of thing. It's very subtle in the way that I think you do actually. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was something else, and it's never made clear in the book what it is.
There was a sign that said oncology, and she's obviously gone for some sort of test result. From it appears that that's what she's been there for. But yeah, oncology is mentioned in that scene, and then the fact that later on she's wearing a headscarf, which makes you think that perhaps she's had chemotherapy and lost her hair. And the kind of deterioration, you know, she looks ill, like really ill by the end, and I couldn't figure out if she was supposed to be in a hospital or not in that final scene.
See, my thought was always, and this goes back to the books, my thought was always she died of AIDS.
Actually, that would work with this,
especially since it was the 1980s.
Yeah.
Like that's just always been my thought since first time I read the book.
That would work with it as well, because chemotherapy is used as a treatment for for AIDS when HIV develops full blown into AIDS.
Right, and back then it happened really fast.
Yeah, because the preventative treatments. I used to be a pharmacy technician, and the hospital that I worked at, we actually made chemotherapy drugs on site. So I know a little bit about it, and quite often you would have patients being treated for that. They are on oncology wards because everybody there is being treated with chemotherapy. They're all in the same ward, because it's the same kind of care that they're having from the nurses is sort of the care while they're going through the chemotherapy. So they keep them in the same place, as it were. So that does make sense. I completely hadn't thought of that at all. And I should have thought of that because I know about it.
Well, just for me, it would be so ironic because, I mean, this is a spoiler-heavy channel. Okay, we can talk about this. Shadow is Balder. He's the god of life. He's the god of light. I mean, they drive the light thing home in this episode. And you're right. For a first-time watcher, it probably doesn't come across as heavy-handed as it would to you or I.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is like these little subtle references. Like when I read the book, I remember the second time I read the book through, I was like, how did I not know this? Look at all these fracking books behind me. They're all about religion. Like,
yeah.
Like not just Christianity, like all religion. Like I study it. I've studied it all my life, and I'm like, how did I not get that? But it's the same thing. Like for me, like yeah, that was always my assumption, is that she had AIDS, which would make it so ironic because Balder is the god of life and light. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that would make me switch off. Like even if I didn't know what I was, that would make me switch off. That would make me, hey, I buggered all.
Do you know, I'm going to swing towards that now, because there's also the fact that it's never actually mentioned what it is, that there's a stigma attached with HIV and AIDS as well. You know, it's considered, it's a shameful thing to have, kind of, for, even now it still has a stigma, but then,
I mean,
it was even worse.
We're both part of the club community. I mean, for us, it's we're both part of the club community, and we're both pre-millennials. We're both people who've lived through this. We've seen this. People who we know have gone through that. Either people who we know, we've seen people who we know watch people die that way, or we've directly seen people die that way. Whereas back then, yeah, I mean, it's still a stigma. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, people make jokes about it, like, you know, as foul mouthed as I get, as inappropriate as I get, I don't make jokes about AIDS. I'll make jokes about syphilis because it's funny.
Yeah, that's actually referred to in this as well. Syphilitic time period. It's one of Laura's brilliant ones. And when she's being funny, it's like the most serious we see Mazzini in this episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. You know what? To keep this under 4 hours long, let's finish breaking down Shadow's youth. Shadow's youth and Shadow's time on the train.
Okay, so I mentioned.
Don't get me wrong. I can sit here and talk to you about this all night, but I know you can't.
I will have to sleep at some point. Some point before 7 o'clock in the morning. Friday nights are a different story when it's Battlestar night. So,
but yeah, let's run with that. It's Shadow story, and all of you who are out there in the chat, thank you so much for coming around. Let's go ahead and call some people out. Oh, Daisy Kowalski.
Daisy K. Let's not butcher it for you, Daisy.
I'm sorry. I apologize, but she watched an episode while we were talking about this. She watched this episode while we were talking about this. So, but yeah, Daisy, Imagination Realm, thank you so much for being here. Braunholler, Al Red Sox fan. I'm just trying to shout people out. Thank you so much for coming by to check this out. This is my first grown-up live stream. Like, I don't have Johnny watching over me to make sure I do everything right. So I hope I'm doing okay. It's actually probably a mess because this episode just has me so scatterbrained. But yes, let's talk about Shadow's youth.
So I think I mentioned earlier on that in that scene, the sort of pre his mother's diagnosis scene, when he's in the waiting room, we see the coin being given to him, and he thinks it's magic, and whoever gave it to him disappears, and it gives the impression straight away that it's Wednesday. But I think I mentioned earlier the Amazon Prime weird hovering stuff that pops up credited an actor as Mr. Wood during this scene, and the only time we have knowingly seen Mr. Wood so far in the show is as an actual tree in the police station during season 1. So that really threw me when I saw that, and there's a reason why I don't tend to look at those hover things that you get on Amazon Prime, because I watch Battlestar Galactica on Prime as well, and so I never click on any of these things out of habit because I don't want any spoilers, and it's only because I was pausing it and because I'd sort of got the mouse going over the screen that the things popped up, and I was like, oh, Mr. Wood, hang on, he's not in. And then I was like, what if that's him? Because it didn't. I went back and kind of listened to the voice again, and it didn't entirely sound like Wednesday. Like it could have been Wednesday trying to disguise his voice. But if it was him, like, would he have risked being seen by Shadow's mum at that point?
Or it could be my tinfoil theory from last week. The God who everyone forgets.
It could. But but if this is Shadow's memories, he hasn't forgotten that somebody gave him the coin.
Sorry, that's something I've been obsessed with for 20 fucking years now. Like, there are whole websites about the god who everyone forgets and who it might be.
There's a rabbit hole for me to go down at some point.
Gaiman was going to say it, and then someone went on his website and said, "Please don't tell us."
We want to keep guessing forever.
And I'm really happy they did that, because you can guess. There's so many suggestions about who that god that nobody can remember is. It could be Hades. It could be
well, it could be any god from any religion that hasn't got a character.
No. Like, specifically, their power is, like, Hades had a helm of invisibility. Every religion, there's a character who has this ability for people not to remember them, or not to see them, or not to know who they are. Or not every religion, but quite a few that are out there. And hard. Yeah, I've been wondering for 20 years, and I have my own speculations about that. We should do a podcast about that sometime.
We should. I'll definitely have to reread the book before that, which I do plan to do. Look. I have a lovely shiny new copy right here that fits in my handbag. I bought a handbag-sized copy to
You know how many
reread.
copies of that book I've given away?
I think you said it's got to be in double figures.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 11 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a dozen. I don't know. I get my copy and I brutalize it with a highlighter and a pen.
Wow.
Which you think of as book rape.
Yeah, I know I did say that.
Oh, hey, do you want to cover this?
Spare copy. I might consider breaking out the highlighter, or maybe a pencil at least, so I can rub it out. But now that I've got a small handbag-sized spare copy,
I'm like, do you want to borrow this? And then I'm like, I haven't got it back in a week. Just keep it. Just keep it. I'll buy another one.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like £5 on Amazon Prime. I was just like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just gonna buy it, and yeah. And I can draw in that one and not feel guilty, but because it fits in my bag, I will actually take it to work and try and read it.
Okay, so yeah, let's finish on with
Shadow. Yeah, Shadow's thing. So the next thing we see him sitting on the step, trying to work the coin, and his mum's talking on the phone in the background. Now, there's obviously somebody that she would have trusted enough to maybe care for Shadow when she's gone, because from the snippets of her side of the conversation, it's Shadow that she's talking about, and she seems to be trying to make some sort of plan for who could look out for him or look after him, and she's kind of having an argument with this person, or certainly a disagreement, but we don't get any hint to who it is, and you get the impression that it would be a family member of some sort. And they say they couldn't find any other family, but that implies that his mum didn't have any other family around, like no siblings, no cousins.
It does mention the man who she's seeing.
Oh yeah, she does. She's going on a date with that guy.
Jeremy, I want to say.
Yeah, I think she's going for drinks, but
I didn't write it down. Like it seems so inconsequential to me.
Yeah.
My notes that I was just like, oh, his name doesn't matter. It's Shadow. You're almost an adult. Your mom's an adult. She's shagging somebody. You even call her out on it.
Yeah, but the way
I love that line of dialogue when she's like, "How do I look? Age
appropriate." Yeah, that's brilliant. I can imagine my own children at their age saying that to me, actually. How embarrassing is that? Yeah, it's I don't know. I get the impression that Shadow probably hasn't met the Sky, though, from the way they talk about him. So I don't
No,
think it would have been...
he has awful taste in music.
Oh, so you must know about him.
I distinctly remember him saying, she's like, I'm meeting Jerry for a drink. And Shadow's like, Jerry, he has awful taste in music.
Yeah. But I don't
I'm
think...
going to pick up on that.
Yeah. I think I can't imagine that this guy that she's seeing, you know, they're dating, but I don't get the impression that it's serious enough that she would then trust him to take over parental responsibility for her child.
Oh no, that was the point I was kind of trying to make. Like
Yeah.
well, no, wait. In the last episode, he says to Anansi, when Anansi's like, "Oh, you were like the skinny little kid until you were 14,
Mm-hmm.
and you learned how to stand up to the bullies," and he's like 15. So he's 15 years old. Like when I was 15, I mean, over there, shit, you can be legally an adult at 16 over there, right?
Not.
Scotland. I'm not sure about England.
No, with most of the same. Yes and no. There are some things. For example, our legal age of consent is 16. You can certain gambling is allowed at 16. A long time ago when I used to smoke, the legal smoking age was 16, but that was raised to 18 a long time ago.
Now you know what you just did, right?
Yeah. You're technically not an adult till 18. Like you're not supposed to drink or what else can't you do till you're 18? There's various things. You vote, you can't vote until you're 18. So like our 18 is more like an equivalent to your 21. You can't get a tattoo until you're 18.
We can vote at 18.
Oh, okay. But drinking's 21, isn't it?
21. We can get a tattoo at 18. We can. This is one of the things that, as an American, we are talking about American gods, and I'm sorry I'm going off tangent, but this is my channel. I can do
Oh,
it.
it's interesting.
You can take a bullet for your country, which is something I believe in, by the way. I'm a huge supporter of the American military.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is going on, these are men and women who aren't making these decisions. They're doing what they signed up for, and they're, I'm not going to go into this huge diatribe about it. But you can take a bullet for your country at 18, but you cannot buy a beer until you're 21.
Yeah, it does seem a little backwards.
A wee bit buggered. Just a wee bit buggered.
Yeah, speaking of which, actually, I don't know if they've ever actually changed it, but homosexual relationships under the age of 18 have some weird kind of legal only for men, not for women though. Have some weird legal shit under the age of 18 as well, even though our age of consent is actually 16, but only if you're hetero or female. So there's that. And at 16 here, you can get married, but only with parental permission. Otherwise, you'd have to be 18.
There.
Hmm?
What's the legal driving age there?
17. Just to be different and a little bit weird and put it somewhere in the middle. Yeah, you can drive at 17. So you have to apply for a provisional license, which you can't do until you turn 17. And then
in the States we call it a learner's permit.
Yeah, that's the same thing. But you can drive younger, I think, can't you?
16.
Yeah, so 16.
15,
but yeah, you have to.
You can get your license. You can get your learner's permit when you're 15 and a half.
Okay. Oh, so you could actually have driving lessons at 15.
Yeah. At least in the state I live. we like in the U.S. states have different laws from state to state, which makes ironic things like in some rural states, a young person who can operate an industrial plow machine at 14
isn't allowed to drive a car.
Can't drive a car. Is not allowed to drive a car. Yeah,
that is ridiculous. But yeah, it's 17 here for a provisional license, and you can take your test kind of whenever you're ready to take your driving test from then. So assuming you pass your test, you can then drive legally with a full license at 17 as well. Like Ben. He's actually been driving for longer than my mum because she didn't pass a driving test until she was in her 40s, which is really weird.
After stream, I have a hilarious story to tell you about my father.
Okay.
But, get back to the show.
Yeah, so at 15, regardless of what the state.
15. Like, I would think he could be on his own. Right? When you were 15, like, did your mom and pop? Like, oh, hey.
I could look after myself at 15. I did get left at home on my own for a week by my own choice, while my mum and stepdad went on holiday, just like within the UK. But yeah, I didn't want to go, and I decided I'd rather stay at home. But I was a very responsible and level-headed 15-year-old, I'll be quite honest. So probably not your typical 15-year-old. There were no wild parties or anything like that. Just lots of late nights watching films, pretty much.
Watching Willy the Monster?
No, proper horror films. But yeah, I can't imagine most 15-year-olds being able to completely look after themselves. I mean, how are they going to survive? You know, how are they going to have enough money to look after themselves? You can't really get a proper job at 15. Again, this might be a different thing, but here, because you're still legally classed as a child, there are restrictions on how many hours you're actually allowed to do any sort of work. And most of this is for things like child actors or children that do modelling, like clothes modelling, that kind of thing. There are very, very strict rules about how much work they're allowed to do. And again, there has to be some aspect of parental permission. So how would he support himself at 15?
No, it always amuses me. A little personal anecdote. Okay, so when I was 14, my very first job, I was a bakery assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could use Hobart mixers, which a Hobart mixer could rip your arm off if you like stuck your hand in there. It for anyone out there who's never used one, they're pretty powerful machines. Mm-hmm. I could use ovens that I could walk into, like because of wedding cakes.
Yeah,
I could use industrial cookie cutters. So fast forward 20 some odd years, my son was 16 and he got a job at a pizza restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It was his first job. He wasn't allowed to use a pizza slicer.
What?
I'm like, okay, the world changes a little bit. Like, he wasn't allowed to use a pizza slicer. Like it's no different than the pizza slicer you and I have at home.
Yeah, but unless you're a freak like me and use scissors.
As a minor, he might hurt himself.
Oh my god. Yeah, I genuinely use scissors to cut pizza because it's easier. Just, I don't do things like a normal person.
That's okay. That's why we're talking.
But yeah, he's still, even if he was doing a small job like that, realistically, he would not be able to make enough money, I think, at 15 to have supported himself.
Okay, so I see where you're going. She's talking to somebody about like who's going to take care of Shadow long care.
Yeah,
like
in a parental role.
While I go on holiday, this is like, hey, I have terminal illness.
This is mum's got a terminal illness, and someone has got to be there to look after her son because she's not going to be there. I don't think she would ask her casual boyfriend. What I get the impression is a casual boyfriend anyway. I mean, at this point, they were only going to be there for the summer. And obviously that's then changed when she's got this diagnosis that perhaps they were there longer than that. But this, continuing this world tour just wouldn't have been feasible because she would have had to stay in one place so she could carry on having treatment for this illness. And, she wouldn't have been well enough to move on to and travel. So there must have been someone somewhere that she knew and that she trusted enough with her child, because you're not going to leave your kid with just anyone if that's it, you're going to die.
What do you think of her when Shadow pulls up the "Who's my dad?" question? What do you think of her saying he's dead and gone?
That's not what he was asking, really, is it? He knows that. He wants to know who he was, not who he is. Who was he says. And she says he's dead and gone. Well, yeah, okay, so he's dead now, but who was he?
Right.
She doesn't. She just doesn't tell him, and that's not right, I think. And again, it goes back to how much he's struggling with his identity or lack of. He doesn't know anything about his dad. The stuff that he can glean from it is that his dad was most likely white or fair at the very least, because he's mixed race himself. Beyond that, there's nothing. He doesn't know where he was from. He doesn't know what he looked like. He doesn't know his age, his name, nothing. He's just literally got nothing to go on. And the fact that his mum has this kind of attitude, you get the impression that, well, I'm pretty sure we know she didn't tell him even when she was dying. Which makes you wonder how much she knew herself. Like, does she really think that he's dead?
Right.
Is she?
I don't think she thinks he's dead.
Because I don't think she'd have, if she doesn't know certain things about his dad, I think she wouldn't really have any reason to try and hide his identity from Shadow.
I have a different take on that.
Okay.
Like I think her opinion was like, I was just shagging bag and then he just disappeared. And I'm not going to talk about him. If you read the book, it actually in the book, that's one of the most powerful scenes to me is when Shadow watches his own conception.
I don't remember that bit from the book. How bad am I? I need to reread it.
Wednesday picked her up at a disco.
Yeah.
And it says it right there in the book. It's he watched himself be created.
Because that's what everyone wants to see.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, yeah, I get the impression from their relationship that she would, if it was just as straightforward as, do you know what, I had a one night stand with this guy, and that was it. I never saw him again. I don't even know his name. I can't see a reason why she wouldn't tell him that, because you think from their relationship, they're very close.
Well, her character is far more developed in the show than it is in the book.
You know, the way like the really sweet things, like when they're dancing together, and it's not how you would typically see a relationship between a teenage boy and their mum. Most 15-year-olds, even if they were in their own house and there was no one else there watching, would be embarrassed to dance with their mum like that.
Yeah, agreed.
And he's not at all. And you'd think that they were close enough that if it was something as straightforward as, you know, it was a one night thing, ships passing in the night, that's all I can tell you. You'd think that she would be honest with him about that. I can't think why she would hide it. I mean, okay, it's embarrassing, and you're essentially saying to your kid, yeah, you were kind of an accident, an alcohol fueled.
Kind of, I mean, totally. And by accident, I mean shit.
Yeah, it's not something that you would want to tell your child. I think it probably wouldn't be very nice for them to hear. However, you know, it doesn't have to be put so bluntly. I can't imagine a parent and child with that relationship not being honest on that level. So
Okay. Yeah, no,
yeah.
agreed.
But again, this is kind of the differences with the show, like how differently they're doing things.
Speaking of okay, so the one last point I want to make, because I know you want to wrap this up with the death scene because you're so obsessed. You wouldn't be a goth chick if you weren't.
Oh no. That was a sad one.
Did you notice the two books that Shadow was reading?
I did, because they were mentioned. Neither of them are books that I have read, so I don't have any inkling as towards a deeper meaning for them.
Okay, so Siddhartha and the Judge, they both involve redemption. And rebirth. But at the same time, this is when Shadow just, as we see in the torture scenes, which we'll get back to in a minute, which I know interests you far more. Oh, I know you love people on a St. Andrew's cross.
Not other people. Digression, anyway.
But, gosh, this is the most unprofessional stream of all time. But
I'm going to hope that everyone watching is far too vanilla to understand that part of the conversation.
But
yes,
I think it's very important what he's reading. As a guy who owns a book or two.
Yeah, I imagined you'd probably read both of those.
The Judge, I got about halfway through, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is pedantic." It was really hard to read. Siddhartha, yeah, I've read it 2 or 3 times, but it was about 20 years ago, and it was in my youth. Actually, when I was about Shadow's age. And though my hair is curly and pretty, it's not that curly and pretty. But yeah, the Judge was that was a slog. And everybody has their different slogs. Like, I love Melville. And some people are like, oh my gosh, Moby Dick is the most boring book on the planet. And I'm like, how can you say that? You know, everybody has their different slogs.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jane Austen, I'll be honest. Some of hers.
So many English points right there.
I know, I'm shocking, aren't I? Yeah, again, there's some books that are just like, oh god, these classics, they're amazing, and you sit there and you're like, for fuck's sake. Can I re-earn some British points if I tell you I love Wuthering Heights, though? So that's
Wuthering Heights is great. Jane Eyre.
No.
Yeah,
I am not a massive fan of a lot of classics.
Oh, I love Bronte girls. You love me some Bronte girls.
Anyway, we're digressing again.
And
What are we like?
in the fucking attic. I love me some ghosts in the attic.
So we've kind of covered most of the stuff with Shadow, with the memories.
Okay, so first one, the road trip with Wednesday and Nancy.
I like that the crows are following, the ravens, sorry, are following them. That you get that sort of quite literal bird's eye view each time. We see them around. In fact, I loved at the beginning of the first. Was it at the beginning? Can't remember. At some point in the first episode, there was a bit where you've got them both flying above a map. That map scene was fucking amazing. I love that.
Well done.
And it's really sad that they've not done that, because that would have worked really well for all the cars going off and everything. It looked brilliant on the screen. I really, really liked that. And it's a shame they sort of doesn't appear to have popped up again yet. But they might do it later on.
Yeah, Union and Meaning. I think I pronounced that correctly. My German's awful. I took Latin. Like, my German's awful. I can't do the Union and Meaning.
Yeah, I can't. I know very little German.
Near Hebner.
The bits I pick up from listening to Rammstein, and I did do German at school, but only for 2 years.
I didn't say Votan because I listen to so much metal, but
yeah, I think I can mention that I have a sister. I can't remember the word for brother, and that I live in a semi-detached house. That's pretty much my school German. Yeah, there's
yeah,
not.
you know what I mean. I do have to say, in the next episode or the one following it, I will be extremely disappointed if Shadow doesn't look at one of those ravens and say, "Hey, which one are you? Can you say Nevermore?" And the raven's like, "Fuck you."
It would be good if the Raven did say "fuck you."
That's one of my top 5 moments in the book. Is when Shadow's like, "Hey, can you say Nevermore?" And the raven's like, "Fuck you."
I can't imagine that they're going to have them talk in the show.
I hope so, just for that moment. That's the only time they talk in the book.
We'll see. Obviously,
I just really want that interaction. Like that's one of my top 5 moments.
yeah. I do really. I don't think there's a single scene with Nancy that I haven't really enjoyed. I love his whole demeanor. He's just brilliant, and they do kind of.
Okay, so this is me behind the scenes. Like, I'm a pretty well dressed man.
Mm-hmm.
I dress well, and tastefully, and I know how to complement things with other things, and so I could not wear the shit that Orlando Jones pulls off. I look like a clown.
Yeah, very few people could pull off such
and he has this checked shirt, and sorry, fashion nerd here. He's got this check shirt and this striped jacket, and he pulls it off, and I'm just like, how the fuck are you doing that, dude?
And the colours as well, it's just very bright and colourful and
purple and yellow and white. Yeah,
garish, maybe.
It would be garish on me. On him, it looks like you're just like, oh gosh.
Oh, I love this Lady Dreamfire in the chat. He looks like a super pimp. He does. That's brilliant. But yeah, he just. He pulls it off brilliantly. He has and his whole persona. It's just brilliant. I just love the way he speaks, and like he's saying, what's it? Wednesday says to him, he's messing with the map, and he says, "Are you going to fold that or fuck it?" And he sits there like, "I'm gonna fuck it." But I think in that aspect, he means fuck it as in, well, fuck this. We're not using the map, not literally have some fun with it.
Did you notice the analog thing about that? Like, you remember in season 1, Wednesday throws the phone out the window. like no GPS, period. And so that's what they have a fold out map from a gas station. Like, do you have that over in the UK? Is that like a thing?
Yeah. We have a sat nav, and Ben actually still prefers to use a road map. So we do actually keep a road map in the car, and a local.
I get along so well.
We have. So we've got like a whole road map of the UK, which is like that thick. But we also have what we call an A to Z, which is a local area map. So it covers. It's a Birmingham A to Z, so it covers pretty much everywhere that comes under the Birmingham postcode area. I mean, it's a pretty old one, but it's easier. It is easier because you can look on it and you're like, right, it's there, and this is the easiest way to get there, and done. None of this, turn this way, turn that way. There's a traffic camera here. That it's too much.
And you don't have the voice. Like if I had Orlando Jones giving me my GPS directions, I'd probably use GPS.
Maybe.
It's like, motherfucker, 200 feet, you're gonna want to take a left. I'd be like, oh shit, okay. But no, I have like the robot, like the worst Cylon of all time.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a Cylon telling me which direction to drive either.
I don't know. It depends on the Cylon. I love Leoben telling me, but okay, no, we're not.
Wrong stream. We're not
going to go here, but I do want Leoben GPS because then I'll find the other stream. But, okay, so we have the car ride.
The fried chicken. He is not happy about fried chicken. Oh, he's pissed. When you're talking to yourself like that, you only do that when you're properly pissed off.
Does the joke translate to someone in the UK?
As a stereotype that black people like fried chicken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it does. He's so, yeah.
He's like,
I don't think he's even offended. He's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Like, you really think I'm this stereotype? Kind of like, it should be, it's like, the way I interpreted it, the way he's muttering about it, it's like, you know me better than this.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just...
It'd be like picking me up corned beef and cabbage. Like, I fucking hate corned beef and cabbage. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Okay.
Corned beef is disgusting.
It tastes like salt and urine. But yeah, like that was the exact feeling I had at that moment. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I totally know this because well, we were talking the other night. I think it was post stream after Cylon Johns about like, oh, what are you doing for St. Patrick's Day? I'm like, going to mass and then going to work. American St. Patrick's Day is the most ridiculous, stupid thing in the fucking planet. But I do like when I'm off to go to places that they do that and just film people. I'll have to show you one of those videos sometime. That's an American idiot. So,
doing awful Irish accents.
Not St. Patrick.
Yeah, and do we want to go to the last scene with Mr. Nancy and Wednesday with the car?
Oh, should we save Bessie for last?
Yeah. So the other car trip we've got going on.
Save Bessie for last. Okay, so we've covered Salim. We started. Let's finish up the other road trip that's going on.
So Sweeney and Laura.
Yeah. Now, I already threw out my tinfoil. I think there's a reason she picked a Mercedes. I don't think she knew the reason, but I think there is a reason she picked out the Mercedes.
Maybe. I mean, it was there, so
Yeah, there were other cars there.
Yeah, but it could have been left there, like deliberately, maybe. Yeah, we see a slightly serious side to Mad Sweeney because when she's saying about, oh, you're not gods, you know, you're just what people have imagined, and he's talking about how much she's fucked her life up, and it was her and not God, and she gets really pissed off, and she says, so I don't know what syphilitic time period you come from, but to me, infidelity shouldn't equal a death sentence. And he responds, he's completely serious then, you know, he's been joking with her saying, oh, well, you fucked this, you fucked that, you quite literally fucked this. He says, where I'm from, it's the greatest sin to betray your one true love is the crime of a coward. And then you get cow, which, oh, I was absolutely howling at that bit. It was so funny. But he's so serious, and then it's straight into something like comic relief. But I wonder if that was some sort of foreshadowing. You know, is he speaking from experience?
Well, yeah. If you know the mythology, yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's
you don't know the mythology, please go look it up. The story of Mad Sweeney is awesome.
I think we talked about it before. I only kind of know like the gist of it, but yeah, he looks sad when he says that as well. And then you have the tire change. Obviously, they dodge the cow but drive over a nail. And you get in sort of the law of strength. But I wonder if she's starting to deteriorate a bit more because she seems to be struggling with holding the car up because she drops it on his foot.
Did you feel when she pukes? And I'm a weird person about body fluids, like, so maybe it's just me. But when she pukes, like, does that feel more vulnerable to you than when, like any other moment? When
Yeah,
Shadow gets, like when Shadow gets lynched, like when Laura pukes, you're like, it just felt so personal and vulnerable. And
because it's like, what's she puke yet? She's been embalmed, hasn't she?
she's puking up embalming fluid.
Mm. Or is she rotten from the inside out?
Yeah.
Okay, she hasn't got any organs in there, but there's still flesh and stuff. So it's yeah, I get the impression that it's because she's deteriorating, because the fact that she struggled with lifting the car and she dropped it, and you saw afterwards she's like this, like it hurt her.
You
But
think it might have to do with her proximity to Shadow?
it could be.
That was my thought. That was my initial thought.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't even flinch when a bullet hit her when he was nearby back in the diner. The bullet that missed Sweeney when he slipped on the blood hit her, and she literally looks down like, ugh. She didn't even feel it really.
Oh, and that brings up another thing. Like Sweeney, so he lost his coin, and he thinks his girls left him. And but he always gets fucked, but he never gets killed. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like his girl walked away, but he doesn't, like there's always some Deus Ex Machina for. It's almost ironic that there's always some Deus Ex Machina that pops out for Sweeney.
mm,
You know, like
it's
I don't think the girl went away for him. I think she's just like, oh hey, I'm not going to do everything for you anymore.
yeah. He's kind of got to create his own luck to an extent.
You know, you're never going to get that word out of my mouth, right?
Yes. I know. Yeah, it could be. And then we've got his reference to Baron Samedi.
Really quickly, Brownholler has a
Oh.
point. In the book, she starts speaking of worms and maggots.
Oh, nice.
Not in the same scene, but in a different scene that does happen.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it could happen in this. There's always flies around her.
Yeah,
So,
no, you brought that up last week, and then it was
yeah.
really funny that in this episode, Sweeney brings it up. He's like, "Oh, you got every fucking fly in the state of Wisconsin following you around."
Yeah. There's the flies are there, like as a little subtle thing, and if she'd just been like embalmed fairly recently, I mean, there's not a huge timeline between events in this. She shouldn't be rotting, and she shouldn't be attracting flies. She should stink of formaldehyde. You know, she's stinking of embalming fluid, which would, an insect wouldn't be attracted to that. So if there are flies around her all the time, she probably is rotting. She'll be giving off some
Dead wife.
decomposition gases. I was going to say, she'd probably breathe. Well, no, she wouldn't be breathing, would she? There's going to be some sort of aura of
I do
decay.
have to say the makeup. The makeup looks dead, not dead.
Yeah,
the makeup's really done well in the show.
it is. It's quite subtle, isn't it? She looks a bit pale, and there's the eyes, but that's pretty much it, really. And we've got to talk about the eyes, the thing that I managed to grab that I've not mentioned so far. So
the one moment before the eyes that I have to bring up.
Okay.
So they're riding in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck does a dead end come from?
It is the end of the road.
Yeah. Do you think it was there 5 seconds before they hit it?
It was
See, to me, that's my mentality. This is the new gods doing what they do.
Yeah, trying to do something. However, the fact that it was like a meadow with flowers and stuff made me think that it was something to do with Easter.
Oh, and then you have that. Okay. So one of my favorite pieces of dialogue in this, and I actually wrote it down, is when Sweeney's like, a beautiful girl lying. Every graveyard is a field of flowers, and Laura's like, I'm another dead girl in a field.
Yeah.
Like I personally thought that was just an amazing piece of dialogue. It totally gets into, for me at least thus far, what this series is all about is someone's interpretation of something. Like for Sweeney, I mean, I think he was on that verge of crying. Like he's every graveyard is full of flowers.
Yeah. Whereas most people look at flowers and think, "Oh, beautiful."
And for him, it's like this tragic thing. Like you put flowers on your loved one's gravesite or so forth, and Laura's like, I'm another dead girl in the field.
She's quite blasé about it.
Right, which is another reference, like just a dead girl in a field. Like it's the whole American news story trope. Some dead girl was found in a field. Like it's rather interesting. I just So yeah, do you think that the dead end was created by the new gods, or it was just there?
Undecided. Sort of mentioned it could have been something to do with Easter. Maybe, but it could be a coincidental thing to her sort of unleashing her powers, as it were. That okay, there was the sort of destruction within a certain amount of time, where she took with a certain radius, where she kind of took Spring away. But we don't know what she did. She could be following them or anything, and she, with her sort of, her kind of reimagining almost back as a deity of spring and like rebirth. It could be some sort of side effect as such as that, these random fields of flowers have sprouted up. It wouldn't be unfeasible. It could be the new gods, but which one of the new gods would kind of have the ability to do that? You kind of get, oh, actually,
The
Mr.
god of
Wood.
what? The god of the American Highway. The god of why I hop on the back of a motorcycle.
But how would they turn it into a field of flowers? That's what I mean. It's like, I could see them being able to like fuck up the road and just make it a dead end, but not with the flowers and the beautiful scenery. That gives the impression more of like a nature deity type.
Okay.
But they do say that Mr. Wood was an old god that's to kind of turn his back on the other old gods. Tree, plants, flowers isn't too much of a reach, so it could be something that he's done. So it could still be that the new gods are responsible for it. And it could be that it's something that he's done that the new gods have got him to do.
Okay.
Because again, with it being like,
that's what I love about this. Like, neither of us know what the fuck's going on.
yes, that's why it's fun. These bits that are away from the books.
Like when I'm watching, like when we're doing Cylon Johns, I'm like,
the twiddling.
This it's new world for both of us, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like one of the things I like about watching Game of Thrones and stuff as well, because where it's diverged from the books, you don't know what to expect, and that's part of what makes it interesting.
Except for fucking polar bears. Except for polar bears.
Except for polar bears.
Fuck
okay.
those fucking cunt polar bears.
Yeah, it makes it more interesting because it's like, oh, where are they going to go with this? And there's nothing that we've got to base it on for how they're going to continue with this part of the story. And we've got to go to the interesting shit that I managed to
yes, please
find.
Screenshots. I know you've been waiting for this. This is your
So the Horde. It's been mentioned before as that's where his coins come from. And it appears he can use it to travel to places as well now. In that scene, because it's so fast, what you get the overall impression of is that they're holding on to each other in the sense that he has to be touching her to be able to take her to this place, and they're screaming. If you are able to view it frame by frame, I couldn't quite get it frame by frame. However, if you pause it in the right place, Laura's eyes aren't dead anymore. They are brown, normal. I'm not sure if I can actually share. Can you? I sent it to you, didn't I? I don't know if you can share the picture on the.
Oh my god! It cracked my head. Like
the screen share thing. So her eyes.
Second, and I will try and pull it up. I turned off Hangouts outside of us because
Yeah, because it kept pinging, didn't it?
bing, bing, bing. We have some chatty friends, which is good.
Yeah, so her eyes are brown. Now, it's possible that this is an oversight by.
What did you send it to me on? I'm not seeing it on Hangouts. I'm sorry.
I think I sent it in the call chat.
I need smart Johnny here. I'm not sure.
I mean, I can hold it up to my camera thing. Hang on. Let me let me do something here. So I'm not sure how clear this is going to be because it's like a picture of a picture. If people can see,
Yeah,
there we go.
guys.
Her eyes are normal. Now, this could be an oversight from the show creators, but the other thing that I found in this gives me the impression that it was not an oversight and it was deliberate because we also get, hang on, anticipation. This as part of the scene, which, oh god, I'm getting awful reflection. So in it, you have got them naked together and face to face. And I didn't manage to get a proper screen grab of it, but it does appear to be that there's like a random Sweeney and Laura sex scene thrown in there.
And she grew a foot and a half for one thing. She grew a foot and a half for one thing.
Well, she didn't, or he shrunk, or well, we don't know how they ended up face to face. Like, has he lifted her up? Are they sitting down? So many questions.
I think that's why it's so uncomfortable. I don't think it's Laura. I think it's Essie.
It could be, but I wonder if they're one and the same. Maybe. It's really, really difficult to tell, isn't it? It's
because I've been sitting here thinking about that for the past hour and a half. Yeah, like
it is. It's so like, what the hell? Because and there are also, I'm not sure if you could see it on those things and how much you see it actually in that scene because it's so quick, but there are coins, gold coins, like the one that's inside Laura. There are coins falling in the background as well. And green light. It's really, really set my mind whirring as well. In was it foreshadowing that there is going to be some sort of relationship between them? Was it like did it happen while they were traveling? I mean, we saw a very split second scene, but how?
I'm thinking the exact opposite. There had been a relationship between them.
There had been. Maybe. I don't know. It's so hard to tell though, because again, it's diverged so much. Where are they going with it, or where have they been with it? It is. I'm so confused. It's the only thing. It has properly blown my mind, that bit, and I might have to try and go back and see if I can get it in the right place to see if there's anything else there, because these are so like blink and you'll miss it, and I only caught it because I had looked away from the screen for like a split second and I saw it when I looked back, and I think if I hadn't looked away and looked back again I probably would have missed it, and that was what made me sort of go through it slower, and that was then when I picked up the thing with their eyes.
So where do you think the horde is? I would be interested in yours.
I'm gonna say, and this is again with only vague ideas around sort of the mythology and stuff, that perhaps it's underground somewhere, because there is a whole thing of the dynasty living in fairy mounds.
Hollow Hills.
Yeah, in a fairy mound. So that's
Hollow.
probably where it
is.
is.
Learned on bass, by the way.
Yeah, so the best I can come up with is that it would be somewhere underground. I can't imagine.
That's my same exact theory. I think this is the Hollow Hills.
Because they could be everywhere, and if there aren't any other say left in America apart from him, they're all just sitting there empty. So he could stash whatever the hell he wanted in there. No one else is going to find it if he's the only one left. calling it a hoard implies there's a lot of it.
Oh, and is it hoard, H-O-A-R-D? Or is it horde, H-O-R-D-E?
I would have said it with an A. I don't know. That's the other thing that it's
A
hard to tell.
hoard, H-O-R-D-E, would be like a collection of treasure. Whereas a hoard, H-O-A-R-D, would be a collection of something. Like an army would be called a horde.
It'd be an army, wouldn't it? It could be either, because he had an army at one point. He did lead an army. Oh my god. It has so many implications, doesn't it, for something that was...
That was fucking with my head.
It is well and truly...
Proper fucked.
Yeah. It is. It's really... I don't know which one. I'm genuinely like... Could be either, it could be both.
It hit me last night when I was doing my second watch through to take my notes. And I was just like, does he mean horde or horde? Like, oh, shit. This is like really, I don't even know. Like it is it a collection of his things, or is it a collection of his army, or it's insane. Oh my gosh, rabbit hole.
So far, because we've only seen that there's coins there, these gold coins, it does imply that it's just treasure. But why would they make it obvious? It's why would he be able to actually physically travel places with it and take somebody else there? And
Dog show's here, by the way.
hello. Oh, apparently we've got a takeover. No, it's a large group of bad guys coming to take over. I don't know. I don't think that he would. I think maybe it is more likely to be treasure.
He might be the beguiling man, though. He might be the beguiling man.
That is true. I think he was one of them in this episode.
I do. There's a part of me that really wants to see junky Mad Sweeney. Like, there's this tragic, misanthropic part of me that really wants to see junky Mad Sweeney.
It might be part of it.
We
have this Sweeney episode that's been rumoured. The only thing that I'd heard about it was that it was going to be like how he became Matt Sweeney.
To me, it was just such an integral part in the book. Like, leprechaun junkie, like that phrase.
Sounds like a pretty good band.
It does. Leprechaun junkie. Hey man, did you go to the Leprechaun Junkie show the other night? Oh my god, it was insane.
Hordes everywhere, and
there were hordes everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, it's because they are developing his character a lot. They could do it. I think, like from the history perspective, obviously we've seen his Coming to America story, but that was a long time ago, and there's a big chunk in between where they've not shown how he went from that to how he is now. But then this rumoured episode is going like way back before his Coming to America thing. And
great. I'm glad I've not watched any of the rumors. I'm glad I've not watched any of them. I'm so anal about that.
Yeah. Whereas I kind of, I don't see that as like a spoiler as such, though. I mean, it is literally just like rumoured from where, it's just like what one random person has heard from God knows where, or something that someone's just made up, or it happens so much in things like Game of Thrones. You know, one person goes, "Oh God, wouldn't it be awesome if da 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 da,"
Oh
and then the
no,
next person,
you
and
know,
it
I
snowballs.
don't think there are enough Game of Thrones season 8 streams out there. I think there ought to be more.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you know, there's just no predictions. It's just, but it is like with these kind of
Okay,
things.
I'm hunting now. I'm totally hunting now.
One person says, "Wouldn't it be cool if XYZ happened?" And then somebody else goes, "Oh my God, that would be so amazing." And then people start talking about how, like, "Oh God, can you imagine? But then this would happen and this would happen." And it snowballs into something else completely, you know, way more than it originally was. And then as other people, it's like the Chinese whispers. By the time, you know, it gets 10 people down the line, it's, "Oh well, yeah, it was written in this article, or someone said it on YouTube, or, you know, this person that I know said that this is going to happen," and it becomes a lot more than actually it ever originally was. And one of the things that people wanted after the last season was more Matt Sweeney, because people thought he was a great character and people wanted more of him. So it could be something as simple as literally one person on a forum has gone, "Oh my God, how amazing would it be if they actually did like a proper full episode about him?" Because his coming to America story, I absolutely loved that. That was my favourite one out of the ones that they've done on the show.
It
That,
was my favorite episode so far.
yeah,
I
that by
love
far.
season 2, episode 1. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I loved this episode. I can't
There
think of
isn't
an
a bad
episode I did
episode.
not love. We have a friend who got turned off, and I think it's episode 4.
Mm.
Salim Ifrit scene. A friend of ours felt like it was a little too pornographic. Like not that there was sex, just like they felt like it was like porn. And I can see that. I don't agree, but I can see the
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that.
um I can see the concept from which they were coming
Mhm.
from. But oh yeah, the coming to America scene for Mad Sweeney was fucking brilliant.
It was so beautifully done, and bits of it was just so moving in places. I can totally see how after that episode, people were just like, "Oh my God, we want to see more of this character. He's amazing. We want to see how he became, we want to see what happened to him before and what he was like when he was in his prime," that kind of thing. I can totally see somebody posting that somewhere on a forum after season 1, or discussing what might happen in season 2, and then it's snowballing like all of the Game of Thrones stuff does.
Well,
So
no,
this,
actually, there was a channel that I follow was talking today about how much memes have changed um, modern what modern movies are coming out with. Like you'll see a movie and they actually use a meme reference. I'm being very careful about what I say because I don't know what I can say about other country. It's a great video, but I don't know if I'll get dinged for saying said things.
okay.
Speaking of memes and so forth, we have not spoken of the New Gods.
We haven't. We didn't see a lot of them really in this episode. They were short
The one
scenes.
thing we saw was great.
Um, the beguiling man again, Mr. World.
The 2 scenes we saw because I forgot
We have
about Mr.
Emmett
World.
Boy as well.
Go for
Um,
a second.
so yeah, Mr. World in his beguiling man scene. Um, he's trying to sweet talk Bilquis, kind of, and it's almost like they're trying to seduce each other for a time. It's quite intimate, and um, you know, it's very, you know, how close they are, and they're so softly spoken, and he's being very flattering. You know, he's calling her Queen Bilquis, not giving her a title as well, but there's also this kind of like dangerous undercurrent where it's almost like a very thinly veiled threat the way he's talking to her.
That is my other complaint about this episode. He whispers too much.
Yeah, I watch with subtitles on when I can.
I don't want to turn my fucking subs on. Like it Crispin, just like raise the volume. Like,
yeah,
from 1 to 2, just raise it up to 2.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit quiet. I totally get where you're coming from with that.
That was, yeah. My only.
I do like the sort of sinister edge it gives then as well, but I would find it frustrating if I couldn't watch it with the subtitles on. Definitely. Prime's a bit choosy over what it gives you the subtitles for, because I'd love to be able to watch Battlestar Galactica with the subtitles, but it doesn't have them. But it has them for this. So I do put them on. Again, it is when there's quiet bits like that, you miss things. But and I really liked his decanter, which again, it's one of these blink and you'll miss it things. It is actually a globe.
Yeah.
And his glasses as well. They
No,
match.
in the Free Street, like those are the same rocks glasses that I have. I'm pretty sure they're like exactly the same, or they're so close that they're almost the same. Like
now you need the decanter to go with it. And they're still in that bunker, because you actually see, just before you see the guy, the old guy that was the one that answered the door to them before,
right.
in front of that control panel. You did a very short scene, so he's still holed up there as such. And Bilquis is trying to tell him that, you've made a mistake now, because now they are all on Wednesday's side. But he's like, they'll scatter, and he's right. They have all split off together, like in.
Also says that you take the Hydra and you put.
It says, "You last do
I
the
can't
next."
Johnny World's voice. Like I was going to try and do what Johnny does with Baelish, but I don't think I can do it with Mr.
No, it's he says, "You lasso their necks and cut all the heads off at once." Obviously, the
necks and then cut all their heads off.
chop them all off at once, I think he said. And I was talking about the Hydra of mythology. Obviously, you cut one head off, two more sprout, and
John's a far better actor than I am. I have to say, Johnny does that much.
Yeah, it's. I like the sort of visual of that he reckons he's going to be able to just take them all out at once. And she says, "Yeah, but if you miss," and he says, "Oh, the ghost of Zoria knows that Mr. World never misses," which is like, ooh, that was harsh.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That was really nasty.
Dog said, volume-wise, you should turn this up to 11.
Everything should be turned up to 11.
Dog, by the way, if anybody gets the opportunity, so on my, I threw out a challenge. I was like, somebody make me an Are You Kill list, or an Are You Kill video to You Should Be Mine by Guns N' Roses. And Dog did it in like a couple hours. And like the first time I watched it, I had goosebumps. It was awesome. I'll drop that in the link down below in a couple hours after this is over. But you need to watch it because it's fucking awesome.
I've totally lost my train of thought.
Feel about this being like such a mature audience to stream. Amy, I've heard no swearing out of you.
They've dropped a few fucks.
You dropped a few fucks, but like just go ahead and make it bad before we talk about my art.
Shit bollocks. I've forgotten what I was saying. We're talking about Mr. World and Bilquis. Oh, what was it he said? Love is the most powerful. I think she's saying love has no place in war, and he says love's the most powerful weapon of war.
And she said,
Um,
it looks to everybody like love and war are opposite sides of the same coin, but that's because they never touch.
yeah, she says war tears lovers asunder.
I don't agree with it all, but from her perspective, I imagine.
From her perspective, yes. But
Well, that's the thing. All these gods that we have, they can only see from their perspective.
yeah, and although what she interprets love to be is not what most people for, and
That's sex.
yeah, hers is all about it's all sex. It's not love on a more, not just a romantic level, but even, how you would love your family, that's still love. And she doesn't, she only kind of understands
I agree.
one part of it.
I think if Bilquis has kids, she could give all about them. You know, she could give all bugger about them.
Mm. It's only one kind of love that she knows, and it's all about the physical rather than the emotional with her. Um, so her interpretation of it is very different to how everyone else's would be. So Mr. World's not necessarily talking about the same kind either. When he says it's the most powerful weapon of war, he's not talking about sex. He's talking about strong feelings, powerful emotions, not the physical. It's more about the emotional that I think he's referring to. And he makes her cry. He kind of says, "Well, you've told us that you don't want to help us, and now the old gods think you're a traitor. So you're fucked, really."
Yeah.
He says something about if you being trampled by both, if you haven't chosen.
It's a transliteralization of what Christ says in Matthew. I think it's Matthew. Book of John. You're neither hot nor cold, therefore I call you lukewarm.
I think he says she'll be trampled by both sides.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite to what she wanted to do. I think she wanted to just separate herself from both sides. She didn't want to be on either side. She'd rather just go off and do her own thing.
Right.
And
Mama G's like, I don't need all you bitches, but hey, I got kind of sucked into this. And then you have those fucking Armenians who aren't going to get sucked into anybody's battle. They're just going to be like, hey, kids read books about us all the time.
you deal with your own problems.
Shit, we've got Eric Bana and Orlando Bloom, so you guys go do your shit.
Yeah, it almost felt like a bit of a heading towards wrapping up her storyline.
Yeah. You think she's going to die the same way she did in the books? In the book.
I can't remember how she died in the book.
She got ran over by a limousine.
No, because they've already done it, haven't they?
That was a funny scene.
It was pretty funny. I can't see them doing that twice. I don't know. I don't know if it will be because she kind of comes back into her power with the help of Technical Boy. Essentially, they've shown her how to use Tinder. let's be honest, there's not really much beyond it. It's they've gone, hey, look, here's technology. You can hook up with as many people as you like using this.
Okay, honestly, I need Johnny to show me how to like make this stream happen tonight. So this wouldn't be happening without Johnny. So I can understand where Bilquis is coming from.
Yeah. So I think they kind of, they've essentially said, look at all these like hookup things you can get on. All you need is a phone. Rather than killing her off, they may do something so that she can't use the technology anymore. If Technology Boy has that kind of power, so that she ends up fading back into obscurity and
I
ends up
want
back
her to
where.
curse him and drive him insane.
Hmm?
I want her to curse him and drive him insane, like in the book.
It doesn't seem that she has that kind of power over him at the moment.
She's a half demon.
Yeah.
The Queen of Sheba. She is the daughter of a demon. She can throw a curse like no other can throw a curse. Like that to me was her embodiment of her character in the book. I would be very disappointed if she doesn't get killed and spit out a curse in blood during her death. Like I'll be very disappointed.
Maybe that's why they already did the limo scene though with him. It To make you think that they're not going to do it again,
I
and then actually they just will. And it'll be just like him, like, for fuck's sake, not again. I'll run another person over in my limo, and it would be her that time because she's there at the moment. So, and then speaking of Technical Boy, that's the only scene we haven't really discussed is him.
Well, that and the big end.
But yeah, him looking for media. Is he supposed to be in Times Square?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Times Square or what is it in Tokyo?
Yeah, I did think it was Japan at first. I wasn't sure.
It's the same type of concept. Like there's an advertisement all over the place.
I only thought Japan because of the actress that's because I've seen a clip of like a teaser for the new season with the actress that's new media is Asian. So I did wonder if perhaps it was Japan and that's how she ends up taking that form, is because she's taken from what's around her. But who knows? But obviously she's.
Oh, so many great lines there. I actually wrote some of them down. Tech Boy is like, "Oh, you can't hack me," and she's like,
Well, she's trying to
"White
hide.
screen, white screen."
Yeah, because she's essentially she's using. Okay, it is media, but she's also using technology to communicate with him, isn't she? She's just using sort of the screens and the adverts to speak to him as such, because she hasn't anthropomorphized at this point. But yeah, she's hiding, and he's like, do you know what? Just fucking sort it out. We Mr. It's not we need you either. It's Mr. World needs you. Like, he doesn't really give a shit about it, does he? He's just like, you need to fucking sort your shit out.
Oh, one thing I want to bring up, like a lot of people have said that the show Tech Boy is not book Tech Boy. Let's think about how we thought about the person behind technology 20 years ago when the book came out,
Be completely different to what
and
it
how
is
we
now.
think about that person now.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, yeah, it was this pimply kid in his mom's basement. Now it's Elon Musk.
Fucking 20 years ago, it was like dial-up internet and the fucking couldn't use the phone if you wanted to use the computer, and you're talking like before MySpace and
Well, no, but he has a point there. You're pointing out his point. You can't fucking do anything without me.
Yeah.
We would not be doing what we're doing right now without Tech Boy.
Exactly.
Even though he blocks me all the time and causes me problems. We worked out a deal. I think everything's okay from here on out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's
we'll see. I packed him up a bottle of ambrosia. I think we're good at least for a minute.
It's the thing, that's his point. I mean, print media is just not as much of a thing now because everybody's got, TV, internet, phones and everything, all that kind of stuff. Advertising and everything is done more through on technology than it is on paper. And if all she had was printed media, eventually she is going to fade into obscurity, and she's already on the decline if it's just that.
But she does that. Oh my gosh! And when that thing comes up with the lipsticks,
yeah,
education is entertainment, and there is no difference now. Like, I think about that. I think about the fact that I sit on YouTube and listen to like documentaries or something like that. Like, that's how I go to sleep every night. Like, I throw on a bunch of documentaries. Like, I'm like, oh, make a documentary playlist, and
oh my god, that'd keep me awake.
I always pick soothing voices,
I can't deal with noise for trying to get to sleep. It's horrible. I just could not cope with it. It would actually, no matter how tired I was, like voices would keep me awake. So I couldn't do that.
But like, entertainment is education now. Like, there is no line.
But it's true. It's, when I was at school, I say this, oh God, when I was at junior school, in our entire school, and I'm not including like the staff area, like the office or something, there was one computer in our science lab. And now, like, my children, they've got like interactive whiteboards in their classrooms. Their teachers do stuff off iPads. There's an app that their teachers have that links to me. Like, I can send messages to the teachers if I want to. They can send messages to me. They can send me photos of what they're doing in the class. It just, that kind of thing's completely unmanageable.
When I was in school, all we had was an abacus.
We did have those when I was at school as well.
And like, we've got our Red Sox fan and dog here. I mean, when they were in school, they had like cuneiform tablets. That was like it.
Not quite the days of writing on slate with chalk, and quills. Like, do you know, actually saying that, we had some desks in our school that still had inkwell
An inkwell, yeah,
things in them, and for putting ink pots in, because that's how old the school was.
I just noticed that the sun's going down, and I'm starting to look like I do in my natural lighting. Oh, okay, there we go.
It's been dark for me for hours, so yeah, it's the differences with media. Like, I think this is, although it's a shame that Gillian Anderson has left, they are using it in their favour, because she is going to have to evolve, because then if you think about it, in season 1, Gillian Anderson's character, you know, she did David Bowie, she did Marilyn Monroe.
Tech Boy calls her out on all of it. Tech Boy calls her out on all of it.
Yeah, like, he does.
Oh, you're Bowie, you're Monroe, you're Jackie Kennedy.
You've got to evolve with the technology, right? Essentially. Like, she needs him, or, you know, otherwise she is just gonna fade away like a dead celebrity. I kind of think, because it's a bit more subtle, the sort of voices, but you think, well, actually, yeah, it is. It's like that, and she's got to evolve and change.
I know you probably remember who Theta Bear is, but how many people out there in the chat remember who Theta Bear is?
Remember who is? Theta
Bear.
No.
No? The original vamp.
Oh, she was a black and white movie actress.
Yeah, the Cylon Johns. Absolutely beautiful. It's from here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Did she?
Actually, talkies ruined her because she had this very heavy Bulgarian accent, and
yeah, it was silent films. Yes, I do know who she is, or was. Yeah, I have heard of her. Yeah, it's because, like, when she was on the TV, she was in black and white, but media in the show, and the David Bowie that she did was.
Oh God,
70s. That was 70s Bowie, yeah, not 80s. Yeah. That was 70s.
That was
Life on Mars Bowie. So.
Oh, no, that wasn't Ziggy Stardust Bowie. That was
That was the outfit from the video for Life on Mars.
Yeah, Life on Mars
video.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that was 70s, wasn't it? Not 80s. So yeah.
Yeah, correct.
It's all quite old-fashioned stuff that she was doing before, and if she had continued like that, she would have become obsolete. So she does need him, even if at the moment she doesn't really want to admit it. And when you actually see the form that she's in at the moment, yes, there's like a spark there, but she's small and almost glitchy.
Yeah.
And it reminded me
that it's really interesting that Tech Boy is pretty much saying, you need me and I need you.
Yeah.
Like, even beyond Mr. World. You need me and I need you. We are a symbiotic relationship.
They are. They are sort of dependent on each other in a lot of ways, and he's kind of accepted that they need each other, and she hasn't quite got there yet, I think. And it's, you know, she reminded me of, you know, like these ghost hunting things where there's like people take photos and there's orb things and photos. That people say like a presence, or it could be dust or whatever. Obviously, that's completely open to belief and interpretation. Yeah. But it reminded me of something like that. Like, it's almost like she's like a kind of like a ghost of her former self, as such,
right
at the moment, until it gave that impression of it being like just this kind of little ball of light. So it was. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what her personality's like when she is this new improved media. You know, it's not really a spoiler as such. You know, everybody knows that Gillian Anderson has left the show and that media is going to be back in the show. So it's obvious that there's going to be a different actress and it had to be recast.
Really quickly on the Tech Boy issue, what do you think about? I felt that them giving Town pretty much Tech Boy's monologue worked out really well.
I loved all the scenes with town in this.
Like your old roadside attractions were up and coming, and then the line. Oh my gosh, I wrote this down because I think there's so many amalgamations that you can take from this. Sorry, this was one of the things that I got most excited about. Where penicillin, streaming porn, and online content creators, like, that's some of the most toxic shit in the fucking world.
Yeah.
But everybody has it.
Yeah. His scenes worked really well.
Oh, yeah.
But like you were saying, like,
commercial. Please watch this commercial.
yeah, I have to, like you said, because obviously you know him from these commercials. I've never seen him before, didn't know who he was or anything, but he played the part brilliantly.
Yeah,
I am really looking forward actually to seeing him, if we do, have to go and explain himself to Mr. World.
I think he's kind of dead. Now, there might be a new embodiment of town, which would make him a god.
He could be, because the others were killed in ways that, you know, they probably were human. Like Stone with the head crushing thing. And as grotesque as that was very well done.
See, that doesn't bother me. And in the spit on the
windows, but yeah,
I know that bothered you a lot. I was just like, but the puking, oh yeah, I can't do that.
I can't deal with sick at all. Most of the bodily fluids I can cope with if need be, but I draw the line at sick. Even my own children, I'm just like, do you know what? Get the fuck away from me. Seriously, I have, the last time Layla was sick, she was sick in the night, and she sleeps in the top bunk. It wasn't good, and like Ben knows the drill. He's like, that's fine, I'll clean it up. But she's got it in her hair, and I literally carried her at arm's length and kind of just stood her in the bath and was like, just take your sticky things off. And I'd got like my pajama top up around my face like this. She's like, can't be.
Have you ever seen the movie Parenthood?
I was like, I am so maternal most of the time, but then it was just like, just get the fuck away from me.
Have you ever seen the movie Parenthood?
No, I don't think I have.
There's this great scene where Steve Martin's in it, so of course it's hilarious.
Mm.
And they go to this carnival, I think it is, and one of the kids, after eating junk food all day and riding on rides, is like, "Dad, I think I'm gonna throw up," and then she pukes, and the mom's like, "What are you standing there waiting for?" He's like, "I'm waiting for her head to turn around."
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, if I was dealing with Exorcist level, I think I'd just leave home.
You'd be like, "Peace out, bitches."
I'm done. Have a nice life.
Okay, let's talk about this final scene. We've been on for 3 hours now.
Oh my God, have we?
I've had a great time, but I'm sure
Essentially, this is like an insight into like post stream talking bollocks after Battlestar Galactica. So
there's
yes,
tons that I've set up and talked to Amy's husband and kids.
because that's how late I stay up. It's morning by the time I go to bed.
Because they get up and they're all like, "Oh, hey, Mom, what are you doing?" "I'm just still talking to John."
Talking utter tripe about cultural differences and slang and random music. And, yeah, we have fun.
No, now last episode you said you did not think any new gods would be introduced this episode. I'd say there were 3.
3.
I say Mr. Town.
Yeah, Mr. Town.
I say trains. And
Okay. And the
Bessie,
car. Yeah.
Bessie the Walker.
I had not made that connection. Obviously I'd sort of seen it as it was a modern incarnation of his horse.
Oh no, he even calls it the car a Walker. He doesn't call it Sleipnir. He says you're a Valkyrie riding off into battle. You were created by American sweat with American steel, and
Yeah, see, I just totally didn't
his speech
click.
there. Oh my gosh, awesome. Sorry, I cut you off, but oh my gosh, that speech is awesome.
It is good, but I didn't take that literally. I thought he meant like metaphorically. But now that you've mentioned it, I've gone, fuck, yes, of course, that makes total sense. It, and
A 1977 Cadillac is an icon in American culture. It's a or 1967. Sorry, Cadillac. I think it was a 67. You know, and it's an icon, and by being an icon, it like becomes somewhat deified.
yeah, but
You
then
know,
it's also it does appear to be an incarnation of or something else. I mean, you see the shape of the horse in his eye,
mm-hmm.
and
Fuck you and your glass eye.
but yeah, you
Sorry,
do.
that's not my favorite line so far.
It was brilliant. And Roadkill Rhonda. That's still awesome. Um, but yeah, it's. I mean, the whole scene was great. I love the way that Mr. Nancy was just like, "Ah, fuck this shit," and just walked off into the
I
woods.
know he's like sleeping in the back seat, and he like wakes up. He's like, "Oh shit, I know what's going on here.
Like, you could have woke me up.
Peace out." Oh,
Yeah.
do you think there's a reason he didn't wake him up?
Mm, either he didn't care, or he assumed that he'd wake up
Oh,
before.
see, I had a third thought. I
What
thought
was it?
figured he'd just keep sleeping.
Really? Okay, could have done. And it would have been another. It would have been a pretty powerful sacrifice to himself. Um, it's possible. Um, I loved how they'd got all the storm gathering during his speech as well, and it was like you've got the flashes of lightning, and it was almost like his power building
Yeah.
as he was speaking, and as the train got closer, and it's like which the sound of the train and the sound of thunder are sort of quite similar, and it was like it was a really really powerful scene. It was brilliant. I loved all the lightning and stuff, and then how you saw the reflection in his eyes. That was so well done. Really really liked that bit, and it I didn't click like you'd said about being a Valkyrie. That hadn't even crossed my mind that that was a literal thing, literally until you said it, and now it's like, oh my god, it so is. Um, so I hope we're going to see more of it, like in the next episode, that they're going to kind of reveal what it actually.
You want to see Bessie die? Is that what you're saying?
No, because I
I mean,
think
I
it's going
can
to take.
deal with a gunshot to the back of the head, but watching that car get smashed would break my heart.
See, I'm not into cars, so it's not a. It doesn't bother me. um,
I'd cry a little.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't really blow up a car. Yeah, I want to see what incarnation the car takes now, because I think that's the whole point of it. I think it will be a new incarnation in or on which he will be able to continue traveling. And I don't know if the whole horse reflected in his eyes is because that was an original form of something, or it's just a representation and it's not actually going to be a horse. It'll just be like a fucking transformer or something kind of turned into a big truck. Betsimus Prime.
Cadillac Prime.
I don't know. There's probably one of them that was a Cadillac. I'll ask Ben tomorrow. Is the Transformers expert?
Or ask LML. If you get the opportunity, ask LML because he's huge into Transformers. By the way, here's Bast. She's going to be in this season. She just wanted to do her cameo right now.
She's like, stop it.
Yeah, well, you stop it. I don't put her in on your podcast.
Oh, bless her. She's sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah, it transform. Ben's got the Decepticon logo tattooed on the inside of each forearm. He fucking loves Transformers. But yeah, she's not really
a content creator who loves Transformers is LML. He's talking.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I think there is going to be a new incarnation of her.
So you have the car. You have. Last thing we'll talk about is the train rescue. We've talked about. I love how violence is done on the show.
I do actually.
It's graphic as fuck, but
it is
not stupid. It's
not campy as such as it. It's quite brutal, really.
Oh, imagine he fights the same way I do. Like, I haven't been in a physical altercation in 20 years, but yeah, that's the way you fight. You don't do all this pretty fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I liked that he was enjoying himself, and he was very much having a good time. I don't know where John's gone. Yeah, the fight. Sweeney was enjoying himself a lot during that. Yeah, he had a smile on his face, and his fighting style is very different from Laura's, but he certainly held his own in a fight, and he didn't seem even remotely scared or anything. And then Laura was like the Terminator. You disappeared then. Where did you go? Do you know you're muted?
The Lou.
Oh, okay. I was just like,
I had to
go. Yeah, so his fighting style was fantastic. He was just like, even smiling with a mouthful of blood. Just, he didn't give a shit. He was like, this is what I do for fun. It was great. And then the cattle prod.
I don't know if they took it word for word, but in the books, there's the scene when Shadow meets Sweeney at the bar.
Yeah, because they have one heck of a punch up then as well.
Yeah, they have a good duster. And Shadow's like, why are we fighting? And if I remember correctly, the quote, and it was also used in the show in this scene, for the sheer fucking joy of it.
Yeah, because that's what it is joy to him. It is fun. It's like almost, um, you know how sort of this things like deaths, but it's like sacrifices to the old gods. It's almost like it's a form of sacrifice to him.
He's a war god in his own right.
Yeah,
I mean, he really
and
is. He's a war god. He may not
yeah,
be a death god. Odin is not a war god. Odin is a death god.
yeah,
Odin is a death god, and there's a very big difference. Sweeney's a war god. Like for him, it's all about the fight.
yeah, and that's like a type of sacrifice as such to him, which is why he enjoys it, I think. And then also, like, you see how, you know, he's getting a pretty, you know, he's bleeding and everything, but it doesn't seem to slow him down. If anything, it actually eggs him on.
Yeah,
Like
it
how
gets
he
more
gets,
powerful as he fights more.
yeah, he gets knocked backwards and he's kind of standing there and he just fucking nuts the guy. Like, he's just like, oh, we're having a good time.
He's watching Laura be fucking badass,
Yeah,
as you were saying with the cattle prod, and he's like, "Oh, hey, now I've got even more power." Like it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is badassery." Like I'm different.
It is. It's like it's almost like the blood shed during the fight is like a sacrifice to him, and he's just, you can see he's like he's thriving on it.
Right? He doesn't need the bloodshed afterwards. He doesn't need like the Egyptian count of hands, or the like Mayan, rip their heart out and throw them down the steps. Shit. He doesn't
Yeah,
need any of that. He
doesn't
just
need the death. It's just the physical.
right.
Yeah, it's just like the punches thrown and the broken teeth, kind of, and the bruises and the bloody knuckles. That's what it is.
I
That's
imagine Matt Sweeney really likes hockey.
possibly. My only experience of hockey is playing it myself at school, so it's not really the same.
And it's field hockey, right? You
Yeah, yeah.
you didn't play ice hockey. You played field hockey.
No, no, field hockey.
Okay.
That's
No good fights.
only on the very odd occasion that they made us play against the boys, because they're vicious bastards. Teenage boys are.
Oh yeah, I played high school baseball.
Yeah, so because for PE, what we called it, physical education, boys and girls are separated, and the sports that you do are also different. However, on the odd occasion, we would be kind of lumped together for a lesson, and yeah, we did occasionally play hockey against the boys. They never won, though. We had to do hockey all the time. They only
I
ended up
bet you
doing
hit
it like,
harder.
hmm?
I bet you hit harder.
No, we got away with it, you see. Boys are fucking stupid. They would deliberately like do something, like they'd hit you with the handle of the hockey, they'd swing it up on purpose and hit you. Girls are clever. We pretend that we're trying to get the ball, but then what we actually do is sweep your legs out from under you with the bottom of the hockey stick, and the teachers don't notice that.
Nice. Oh, they noticed it. They just let it go.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Because
it's a
you're
bit,
smarter.
yeah, probably a bit sexist when I was at school. So, but yeah,
Oh no, I figured they let it go because you were smarter. Like that's how I'd look at it. It's like if you're being smarter, then yeah, I'll let it go. Go ahead.
no, because it would be the boys' teacher that would supervise, who was also male. So it would be of the idea of you got tripped over by a girl, get off your ass.
Okay, I
Yeah.
gotcha. I'm full on you.
Oh, you let yourself be outsmarted by a girl. It was more that kind of attitude. Um, but yeah,
I
I
bet
wouldn't fancy playing hockey against him. So
how what do you think's gonna happen when this train hits this car?
oh, I think that there is going to be some new incarnation of the car. And I'm interested to see what will happen inside the train. I mean, an American train like that, they're fucking huge, great big things. So I can't imagine the train sustaining much of any kind of damage from it, but an explosion and an impact would at least, it could derail the train, I suppose. There's a possibility it might derail the train. Realistically, I think the train would just plough straight through it and not even slow down. But for show purposes, I can see it being the train being derailed and possibly causing an electrical fault that powers down that machine. I wonder if we'll see sort of Laura trying to get him out and not knowing how to, but hitting the car causes an electrical fault which powers down the machine and lets Shadow get out of it. I don't.
Does pretty much happen in the book.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Town's dead. I think he'll crawl away from the wreckage unseen as such by the
You
others.
remember Xenobug's curse? Xenobug's curse.
That is true. I wouldn't expect that to be fulfilled.
Warrior, you'll die at a woman's hand. Oh, I can't remember the entire thing.
No, I don't remember it either, but it's maybe, because we don't know if he's a god or not either, so it's kind of open to interpretation. But I think the fact that we didn't see like a death scene as such of Laura or Sweeney actually killing him, he's probably not dead. I don't know if the crash will kill him or maybe, he's going to be found as the only other survivor apart from Sweeney, Laura, and Shadow.
Great.
He'll be the only other survivor on there, so they'll, maybe they'll take him prisoner, like they took Shadow prisoner. Maybe they're going to take him prisoner and drill him for information. Use the technology against him. That would be interesting.
Or use the old God's ways, maybe.
Or that too, yeah. If they want to electrocute him, I'm sure Mr. Wednesday could arrange that quite easily.
Oh no, I was thinking of Mad Sweeney like ripping out fingernails with his teeth.
I can see that too. Oh, fingernails though. That makes me cringe. Like any sort of gory stuff, totally fine. But fingernails, it makes me feel all funny. But I quite happily watch it.
We all have our triggers.
We did. Honestly, it's just one of those things that properly makes me cringe. Like I could quite happily watch them doing all sorts of awful things to someone, like hacking off limbs or flaying someone or gutting them or anything, or the person getting shot in the head last episode and the brains landed on the table. Did not even flinch, but the thought of them doing something to somebody's fingernails.
Or spitting on a window. Or spitting on a window. We all know that bothers you.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, it just, no, fingernails. It's just vile. Absolutely vile.
You need some power behind a curse.
But I like the idea that they might get the old gods might get their hands on him and be able to interrogate him, torture him, whatever. Because now there's been, three occasions where Shadow's been sort of taken by them, and so there's a bit where he ended up. He was in the.
I was just saying, what would be interesting is if they just took him back to Mama G
Yeah.
Hey,
I
get a
bet
shot. Don't
she'd
even
get,
ask him any questions. Just have fun.
yeah, she'd get some information out of him for sure. But yeah, there's been more than one occasion now where they've taken Shadow. Like he got taken by Techno Boy in the limo, and then when they lynched him, although that was kind of the same
Right.
bit, wasn't it? And then again, they've taken him and they've tortured him. So it would be nice if the next time someone's taken and tortured, that it
I might have
was.
done him a favor. It did bring back his memories of his youth.
Does he want to remember that though?
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
Yeah. Every blessing bears its own curse.
Mm.
I forget who said that. Some French guy. I think it might have been Camus. No, that doesn't sound Camus. It was a different. It wasn't Descartes. Oh,
I've
okay.
no idea.
It's been way too long since I took philosophy. Yeah, every blessing bears its own curse.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that kind of unlocking those memories as such is what it sort of triggers him to ask questions that might help him learn some truth. But I don't know. I think maybe it was more to add to the fact that he was suffering in those scenes.
I did like watching Shadow kick the shit out of those kids.
Yeah.
Like if I had been his parent, I'd have been like spot on.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wouldn't
And
say, "Oh, you were looking for trouble." I just said,
no, he wasn't though, was he? He was looking out for someone that he maybe felt was like him in a way that didn't fit in with the rest of the people that were around, and was being picked on because he wasn't the right colour and didn't speak the right language.
"Yeah,
So it was more that he felt a connection, I think, with the kid that was being beaten up. I don't think he was looking for trouble. I think he was looking to save someone.
yeah." I think in his eyes it was like that, but in his dying mom's eyes, dying mom, dead wife.
Oh, poor dying mum. Yeah, I don't think we'll see her again now. I think that was kind of yeah. I'm not sure they'll have any other scenes with her in or any other flashbacks. I did.
Sad because she had some of the best.
Mm,
As I said before, some of the best writing in this series so far. Like the thing she
yeah,
does,
I mean, I
brilliant.
think the way they've written her might have some people, again, just show only watchers, thinking that she's the god,
Hmm.
because there's the whole thing about the light, and I think she says something like, I gave the light to you. I gave it to you. When she's talking about this light inside him, and he's saying like, I don't see it. And she says, I gave it to you. And then the whole thing about like mentioning the Statue of Liberty, and he carries the coin that says Liberty on it, and then it breaks when she dies, and he mentions that he mentions Libertas, the goddess. Um, and I wonder if they do that to sort of make people think that that's who she's supposed to be, and that's why there's no information about his father, because there's a lot of there's some stuff in mythology about sort of other gods kind of miraculously being spawned without two parents as such. You know, there's like you've got things
Oh,
like in,
so often that's referenced.
yeah, you know, they
Then we
just
can
come.
even go into our modern mythology. Anakin
Mm.
Skywalker.
But they're almost like they can just come into being as such. So
No, I mean that's not a joke. Like Anakin Skywalker is a Jesus figure. He had no father.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Like,
I'm
the
not as
mom
much.
doesn't even know how she got pregnant, or at least that's what she says. I mean, it might have been a night out drinking, but I can't see Shmi Skywalker like out like, hey, want to go back to my slave quarters and have a good time? You're okay. Tangent. Oh my gosh, tangent.
Um, yeah, I can see how they might plant that idea with some people. The fact that she's very evasive around his father, that it could be because there isn't one, because he's a god and so's she, so he came from her and it's just her. I can see how people could end up along that line of thinking from it. Like, we know that, I mean, I can't imagine them changing it in the show. As far as the books are, his mum was human and his dad was Odin, and he's a demigod. But I can see how people would think that he is an actual god, maybe that's just forgotten or doesn't know. Um, Especially with the whole light thing, that with Laura's thing, the light everywhere, and his mum talking about it.
Mythology. Balder isn't a demigod.
No, he's an actual god, isn't he?
Like, he's a bamf.
Yeah. Who's his mum in that?
He just needs to watch out for some fucking mistletoe. Like, seriously, dude, watch out for some mistletoe.
I don't get the reference. I'm not massively up on Norse mythology though, so.
So his mom went around and asked everything on the earth not to harm him.
Mhm.
But she passed up the mistletoe vine because she thought it was like, oh, hey, you couldn't hurt him anyway. And then Loki makes a spear out of mistletoe, and everybody's throwing stuff at Balder like it's a game to the gods because it doesn't hurt him. And they're all throwing shit at him like hammers and rocks and all the none of it hurts him. And there's the blind god, Thor, I think it was. And Loki's like, hey, here, throw this sprig of mistletoe at him. And then he kills him.
Wow.
And that's what starts Ragnarok.
Excitement. Oh, I know you know a lot more about that than I do, so.
I had no friends as a kid, okay?
I have no friends as an adult.
I had Norse mythology and Tolkien. And a lot of Greek and Roman mythology because I was like, oh, hey, yeah, this is what I want to teach. And then I realized how much teachers make. And I was like, yeah, well, I do like drinking and talking about alcohol. So I could probably learn how to make a few drinks.
Awesome.
And make about 3 times what a teacher makes.
Exactly. Oh, I don't think there's anything else in my notes that we haven't covered.
No, yeah, and we gotta wrap this up. We're at like 3.5 hours. This is longer than the Cylon stream.
It is, with considerably less people.
It's brilliant. Hey, we still have some people out there.
We do.
Thank you all for sticking around. Really quick, thank everybody who's been here. Imagination Realm, Braunhaller, Dog Show. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you so much for that awesome fucking video, Dog Show. Lady Dreamfire, who I call LLD, but the artist formerly known as LLD. Al Red Sox fan. Peter Griffin was in here with his green jeans. He specifically brought those up. Daisy K. I'm just gonna leave it there. Daisy K. Imagination Realm, I already said, but I can say it again. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out to talk about some deities at the College of Divinities here. We'll be talking about 2-3 next Wednesday, because Wednesday is a fortuitous day to talk about gods.
It is.
Amy, what are your final thoughts, predictions, and ranking for this episode?
So predictions, I think what I was saying earlier about the train, possibly derailing, maybe they get their hands on Mr. Town, and we're going to see a new incarnation of Wednesday's car. Final thoughts, it was a good episode. It wasn't as good as last week's, I think, but that doesn't mean by any means it was bad. It was still very, very good and intriguing. And as a rating, I will give it 9.3 sneaky split-second sex scenes.
Nice. My predictions. I think we'll see another god next episode.
You said that last week as well, and you were right. So
I was thrice right. Yeah, so that's my prediction. I think we'll see another god next week. I think thoughts about this episode. I liked that it really showed the interactions between characters, and I think it defined the characters in this episode well. I think it really makes you understand the people, who they are, and the thoughts that they have. Just like the little things, like Anansi sitting there like, fucking chicken, really? like the wee little things that they did there are awesome. And I will give this 9 out of 5 crushed skulls against the bulkhead of a train.
Awesome.
Anything else you gotta throw out there?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming by. Mackenzie, still. Yes, we're still going on, but we're about to stop. Mackenzie, thank you so much for stopping by like 3 or 4 times, because I know you've got so many other things going on. We'll see Mackenzie on her channel very soon. Actually, they're popping up here in an hour. Definitely watch it. It's going to be season 5, episode 10, if I remember correctly. And I'm looking forward to watching this. And in the meantime, believe. Right?
Oh, sorry, I was miles away. Yes, believe.
Believe. No?
Are we off or not?
No, I was waiting for you to say believe.
I did.
Oh. Try it one more time. This is my first stream by myself, so.
Yes, we can't start a stream. We can't fucking finish one.
Believe.
Believe.